Chapter 995. After finalizing the television station, schedule, and sponsors, according to the contract signed by Chu Zijin and Chili Pepper TV, the basic title sponsorship fee was $100 million, and the three special sponsorship fees totaled $60 million, of which $60 million would be given to Chili Pepper TV. Chili Pepper TV bought my God. The first season's copyright licensing fee was $40 million. Including the video website's licensing fee and on-demand share, it was estimated to be less than $40 million. Deducting the share to Chili Pepper TV, Tianguang Media's basic income was about $180 million. However, the entire program's production and publicity costs were calculated to be about $180 million. This included the rental of the venue, the construction of the stage equipment, the appearance fees of the celebrity artists, the travel and accommodation fees of the contestants, and various other coordination fees. On the surface, Tianguang Media might be able to break even after completing the entire project, with no profit or loss. As for exporting the copyright overseas in the future, it was something that could only be chanced upon and could not be considered a stable income. On the other hand, Chili Pepper TV was guaranteed to earn $20 million. Of course, doing business was not charity. Risks and benefits coexisted. What was mentioned before was the basic income. But if the program's ratings exceeded expectations, the various income would rise steadily. For example, if the average ratings reached 2%, it would be a guarantee. If the ratings reached between 2% and 5%, the sponsorship fee would increase by 10%. Chili Pepper TV's advertising fee would also increase by 10%, and the copyright licensing fee would increase by 5%. In the terms of the contract, if the national ratings exceeded 5% and the national online viewership and topic share exceeded 15%, the sponsorship fee would be doubled, and Chili Pepper TV's copyright licensing fee would also increase by 50%. At that time, even if they had to pay more to Chili Pepper TV, the overall plate would be bigger, and the profits that Tianguang Media could earn would be extremely impressive. At that time, what awaited Tianguang Media would be at least $200 million in net profit, as well as the expected income from overseas authorizations. Although Chu Zijin had just entered the industry, she had not let down Chen Guang's trust in her to be able to perfect such a business model in such a short time. The first season of the program had a total of 8 episodes, and they were only recording 4 of them. They were waiting for the first and second episodes to be aired on the satellite to observe the specific effects, and then they could make changes to the content of the next 4 episodes. Of course, the people with special abilities that could be found at the moment could only last for 4 episodes. Now, the production team still had to continue planning and collect program materials from all over the country. Chen Guang had no opinion on the contract that Chu Zijin had signed. He was just worried that the ratings would not be satisfactory. It was a pity that although he was known as the strongest and most versatile variety king, he relied on his own unorthodox methods. It was a little difficult for him to give suggestions. Even if he studied hard and really had the ability to do so, he was not willing to spend his energy on it. His thinking was very simple. Since he had let Chu Zijin take over this responsibility, he would trust her 100%, and let her do whatever she wanted. What if they accidentally created a huge IP worth billions of yuan? If the viewership ratings really collapsed, at worst, he would personally participate in the next 4 episodes. Can a person hold in their urine to death? Forget it. He didn't want to think so much. What he needed to think about now was how to deal with the trouble in front of him. He looked back silently at the bloody script in front of him, and then secretly looked at Jiang Yage, who was hiding in the other corner of the coffee shop and discussing with a red face, and Jean Shuriwei, who had just arrived. He thought to himself, can I redo this script? A kissing scene is a kissing scene, I admit it. But what the hell are you doing? After defeating the opponent, spin 720 degrees under the restraint of the boxing ring guardrail for 180 seconds. Would your family stupidly stare at someone kissing on the screen for 3 minutes? Besides, have you ever seen someone kiss in circles while kissing? Gymnastics kissing? Chen Guang turned to look at Big Beard Uncle. Big Beard Deng's face turned red. Don't look at me like that. I'm innocent too. After I finish filming this movie for Solomon, I've decided to shoot a gay movie without a female lead. I've even thought of the name Brokeback Mountain. You're doing this to avoid Jiang Yage and Jean Shuriwe? Yes. I am old and a little tired. Accompanying Gidge to study is really torturous. But isn't this a film made by the great director Lee? Big Beard Dang stretched out 2 fingers. I will do too. I have talked to old Lee about the copyright, and I will co-direct with him. Chun Guang silently grabbed his hand. I think you may need you want to be the male lead? No. I think you need an investor who is not short of money. As the two were talking, Jiang Yage pulled Jean Shuriwe over. Big Beard, these are the last few scenes. Let's hurry up and shoot today. Jean Shuriwe wanted to say something, but stopped. Chen Guang and Deng Xiaojiang couldn't tell if she was looking forward to it or shy. Chen Guang coughed. I have a cold recently, so it is not suitable for kissing scenes. In fact, it was not that they could not shoot, but if they really shot it according to Jiang Yage's script, he was afraid that the old men in Yanjing would catch them on the spot for a wedding. Big Beard also pinched his fingers. Today is not an auspicious day for shooting, so it is not suitable to go out. It is better to stay at home. The two struggle did not have any effect, and the next morning, the rest of the crew was dragged to Wujing Film City. Rin Chong, Zhao Yueling, Zhou Ye, and the rest of the lead actors had already left the crew, and the next time they met would probably be when the film was edited and the cinema release was scheduled. Chun Guang pressed a makeup artist on a chair to touch up her makeup, and from time to time, he would secretly look at Jiang Yage and Jean Shuriwe, who were also putting on makeup, and he could not help but feel a little strange. The stupid script written by Jiang Yage was rejected in the end. After his argument with Big Beard, they cut off the scenes that could not be shown on the big screen and compressed the crazy 180 seconds into 15 seconds. Stop joking. People would be scolded for being immoral if they spent dozens of dollars to enter the cinema with a close-up kissing scene for 3 minutes. So, it was not that the kissing scene could not be filmed, but at least it had to be done normally. His fight had also achieved some results, so it was not difficult to accept. But now, Chun Guang still could not relax because he had never thought of shooting the kissing scene of Jean Shuriwe and Jiang Yage at the same time on the same day. In the movie, Jean Shuriwe played the role of his dead ex-girlfriend, and Jiang Yage played the role of Chun Guang's little fan who inspired him to fight again when he was middle-aged. The two characters appeared in the movie more than 10 years apart, and even in the movie, one of the scenes was at the beginning and the other at the end, so it did not feel out of place when it was filmed. But Chen Guang did not expect that when it came to the actual filming, things would rush and people would chase people away. Unknowingly, it had become a kissing scene with both of them on the same day. This was their first kiss on screen. Although it was quite enviable to think about, it was actually very stressful and not happy at all. Instead, it was super awkward. If this kind of thing were spread, wouldn't I be hacked to death? In addition, although there were not many people in the crew at this time, at least half of the people in the crew had left. But the rest of the guys might also be making up stories about me in their minds. Chen Guang turned his head and glanced at Yang Shi, who was secretly looking at him. Sure enough, even this guy had a meaningful smile on his face, let alone the others. Do you think I enjoy it? This is simply charaba, okay. Not knowing what Jean Shuriwe and Jiang Yage were thinking at this time, Chen Guang pricked up his ears again and eavesdropped on their whispers. He thought that if Jean Shuriwe felt embarrassed, then he would only shoot one scene today, and shoot the kissing scene with another person tomorrow. Although the old man had invincible acting skills, the old man was not ready to sacrifice for art. He could only drag it out for one day. Yage, when I kiss him later, do you think he will stick his tongue out? Sister Shuriwe, don't worry. No. Jean Shuriwe's tone was a little disappointed, but also a little relieved. No, with his temper, he definitely will. Then what should I do? I'm so embarrassed. I'm a little embarrassed. Jiang Yage patted Jean Shuriwe's shoulder. Sister Shuriwe, don't worry. Don't look at how scared you are now. When you give him a hug later, I guarantee that your mind will be blank. At that time, you just need to act as yourself. Big Beard will definitely not say anything. Even if you ask him to say NG, he won't dare. Jean Shuriwe was relieved, then looked at Jiang Yage again. She wanted to say something, but hesitated. That's good. But you, Jiang Yage understood. She knew that Sister Shuriwe was a little embarrassed that she was shooting with Chun Guang first today, and then it was her turn later. Sister Shuriwe, what are you thinking? Didn't we never share the cup when we drink together? Jean Shuriwe suddenly realized, it seems so. But don't be too proud, I'll say the ugly words first. Anyway, I've made up my mind. When I shoot my scene later, I will deliberately NG 17 or 18 times. You are the one who is thin-skinned, so don't blame me for being ruthless. Jean Shuriwe made a gesture to pinch Jiang Yage's waist. You, so sinister. Sorry for my rudeness. No, I want to NG too. Chun Guang decisively withdrew his power. He really couldn't listen anymore. His mind began to imagine the scene later. Big Beard was hysterically yelling NGs. Then, he gave the two of them a variety of fancy NGs from all sorts of angles, and then took advantage of them. He silently flicked his hair. Too handsome, too charming is also a great trouble. As he turned his head, he saw a group of people walking over from the other side of the set. In the lead was a handsome young man in a white suit. Chapter 996. The man in the white suit was none other than his old acquaintance, Bai Hua. The people around him were all big-bellied and imposing. They were clearly the bosses of various companies. Even so, Bai Hua stood proudly in the crowd, like a crane among chickens. His imposing manner completely overwhelmed everyone else. He truly lived up to his reputation as the first young master of the third generation. Chun Guang's eyes widened. What the hell? Why is Brother Bai Hua here at this time? Are you here to mess with me? Bai Hua saw Chun Guang from afar and decisively walked out of the crowd. The others hurriedly followed behind him. Among this group of people, Chun Guang also saw a few old acquaintances, including Lu Chao from Lu Shi culture, Wang Qing's father, Wang Guoxiong, and the big boss of the five-capital underworld, Fourth Master Yin. At this time, all the big bosses' faces were filled with joy. Chun Guang remembered that Bai Hua had previously come to the Chuan province on behalf of Tianyi Energy to discuss a new energy project that would invest tens of billions of yuan. It seemed that the matter would be finalized in a few months. Chun Guang, I've asked around and found out that you're filming here today. Since I'm already nearby, I thought that I might as well pay you a visit. Chairman Liu and the rest also wanted to come over and greet you. I hope I didn't disturb you, right? Bai Hua walked closer and asked with a smile. Chun Guang thought, you're already here, what else can I say? Even if someone really has an opinion, it should be Big Beard Dang's problem, not me. He could only casually wave his hand. It's fine. Bai Hua acted as if he was very familiar with them. He turned around and asked the big bosses to sit down. Big Beard Dang also recognized Bai Hua and the people behind him. He hurriedly came over to say hello and then quickly ran away. Bai Hua waved at Jean Shuriwe and Jiang Yage, who were putting on makeup on the other side of the room. He then turned around and asked Chun Guang curiously, I heard that you guys are almost done. What scenes are you shooting today? Is it okay for us to watch? I know that your acting skills have already reached the pinnacle. You won't be affected, right? Chun Guang shrugged. It doesn't affect me at all. As for today's scene, he swallowed his saliva, then looked at the other bosses like Lu Chao, who were like curious babies, and sighed. We'll be shooting the kissing scene today. Bai Hua's body trembled. A kiss scene? With whom? Chun Guang's gaze turned to the two women, Jean and Jiang. His eyes were especially deep. Those two. Chill. The people who came to watch the show twitched, and the big shots also had a very unique feeling in their hearts. Their impromptu visit had actually become a historical moment. As half an insider in the entertainment industry, Lu Chao immediately began to popularize science to others. Jean Shuriwe and Jiang Yage never shoot intimate scenes. Chun Guang waved his hand. Director Liu, don't mention this matter. I'm under a lot of pressure. Lu Chao thought that Chun Guang was being modest, and instead said with a face full of envy, Director Chun, you're being too modest. You don't need to feel any pressure. Think about it. The two of them have been in the industry for so many years, and they've filmed so many scenes. Not to mention kissing scenes. Have they even held hands before? No, right? In my opinion, the only person in the entire entertainment industry who can make the two heavenly queens break through their limits and boundaries is you. That's right. If it were anyone else, would the two heavenly queens make such a sacrifice? Nonsense. How can this be called a sacrifice? This is filming. This is the art of film. What do you know? Old Lou is still the one who knows how to speak, as expected of someone in the industry. Anyway, Director Chun, do your best. I won't say much, but on behalf of my company, when your movie is released, our company will directly book the entire theater. Yo, that's a big deal. Old Lee, your company has more than 30,000 employees. Are you going to do it together? Don't tell me you're bragging. The boss, who was called Old Lee, waved his hand nonchalantly. How is this a big deal? My company organizes our employees to watch movies every year. Doesn't it matter who they watch? Of course, we have to watch our own people. The others also chimed in one after another. These guys were indeed shrewd people. Their words were all flattering Chun Guang, but no one expressed any envy. Everyone present was a big shot. Although they might not know the real background of Jin Shuriyue and Jiang Yage, they could roughly guess it, so they did not dare to be envious. That was why things in the world were so interesting. Big shots like Liu Chao and Wang Wuxiong were much more powerful than Bai Shuihe and his son from the Dan family. It was because they stood at a higher position that they could see more things, and their actions were more meaningful. However, Chen Guang did not enjoy their flattery. Instead, he could not sit still, feeling as if he was being roasted on a bonfire. Especially when Bai Hua's expression gradually changed, Chen Guang felt even more unbearable. Brother Bai wanted to say something, but hesitated. Perhaps he felt that something was wrong, but everyone here was an outsider, so it was not convenient for him to speak. Finally, when the cameras were about to start shooting, Bai Hua separated himself from the crowd and looked for Chen Guang. He asked, Chen Guang, is this okay? Chen Guang knew what he was referring to. After all, in his heart, he and Jin Shuriyue had always been lovers. Back then, he had fallen in love with Chun Yu before he was willing to completely give up on Jin Shuriyue. But today, Chen Guang had to shoot kissing scenes with two people at the same time. It was inevitable that he would not feel good. Although their relationship had changed, and it was no longer the love from before, Bai Hua did not want to see Jin Shuriyue feel wronged. How could Chen Guang tell him that not only did Jin Shuriyue not want to feel wronged, but she also wanted to learn from Jiang Yage and crazily take NGs? He had no choice but to pat Bai Hua on the shoulder. Brother Bai, don't worry. I understand. Don't think too much about it. It's just a movie. Isn't this normal for other actors? Bai Hua felt that there was something wrong with his words, but he couldn't refute him. It was not until Chen Guang walked away that he fiercely stomped his feet. Hey, I didn't think it through. I should have asked him just now. Since you said it's a movie, what would you do if Shuriyue and Grace were to shoot kissing scenes with someone else? Didn't he trick them into doing it? Jin Shuriyue was lying quietly on the hospital bed. The makeup on her face was a little pale, and she looked very pale. This was a specially decorated ward. There was a white lily on the windowsill, and the TV was playing a highlights clip of a boxing match. In the movie, the girl's life was about to come to an end. She could close her eyes at any time, never to open them again. But at this moment, her eyes were wide open as she stared at the TV screen. Congratulations. Congratulations to Chun Lei for winning the CBO championship. He's an unprecedented genius. On the TV, the young man she missed day and night was standing in the boxing ring. His eyes were swollen. It was hard to tell whether his face was covered in blood or sweat. He raised his right hand high and grinned. Even through the screen, one could see the pride in his heart. The scene on the TV changed to a reporter interviewing the boxer, Chun Lei. Mr. Chun, what do you want to say the most at this time? On the TV, Chun Lei was facing the camera. Me. I want to tell my girlfriend, no, my wife. Wife, did you see that? I won. I'm coming home right now. Let's get married. Jin Shuriyue smiled. Her smile was exceptionally sweet, and a faint blush appeared on her pale face. Her face was filled with unparalleled happiness. Cut. Cut. Good, very good. This scene is amazing. Big Beard suddenly shouted, cut, and then checked the effects of the scene over and over again. The more he looked, the more satisfied he was. Jin Shuriyue's condition was perfect to the point of being impeccable. Originally, the bearded man was worried that it would be difficult for her to finish the entire scene in one go with this makeup, especially the last one, which was especially difficult. However, when Jean Shuriwes squeezed out that faint pink color on her face, the bearded man knew that he had it. From the monitor, the scene was even more perfect. In that instant, Jean Shuriwes' expression and the light and shadow in the ward intertwined and brightened the lifeless atmosphere. Although Big Beard was good at plot and rhythm, he was also good at using light and shadow effects. Even if it was just a small scene in a modern drama, he still used his aesthetics to the extreme. After another round of work, he immediately moved on to the next scene. The first scene was about 5 seconds of Chun Guang breaking the door and Jean Shuriwell looking at the door in a daze for about 8 seconds. The scene quickly changed to Chun Guang rushing forward and hugging her. Why? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Why? I didn't want to disturb your training. I wanted to see you win the championship. Didn't I win the championship for you? If you had told me earlier, I would have taken you to the hospital earlier. It's useless. It's useless. This is a terminal illness. Impossible. I won't admit it. It's only been half a year. There's still hope. Chun Guang bent down and hugged Jean Shuriwet tightly. His eyes were so gentle that it could melt glaciers. Jean Shuriwet's breathing gradually became heavy. She hugged Chun Guang tightly. Don't do this. Kiss me. Why? Because I want to. With that, Jean Shuriwet hugged Chun Guang tightly and kissed him. Big Beard waved his hand, and the camera quickly moved forward. Finally, after 10 seconds, Big Beard let out a long breath. Cut. Perfect. Jean Shuriwet opened her eyes and let go of him. She only came back to her senses now. That's it. What did I just do? Why can't I remember anything? Did I lose my memory? There was no problem with my acting just now. There was no NG. How'd I pass it in one take? Jean Shuriwet was a little unhappy. It was such a rare opportunity, but her mind was in a daze. She didn't know anything. She got down from the hospital bed with a thick hospital gown and ran to the monitor with a red face. She checked the effects of the camera with Chun Guang and Big Beard. Only then did she see how she acted. She understood at once. Although she was unconscious at that time, she was brought into the scene by Chun Guang. At that time, she was his first love. She didn't need to think much. She just needed to give her all for the last kiss. The next time she appeared, it would be a funeral photo. Shuriwet, your acting is getting better. At this time, Bai Hua also came over and praised her. Although Bai Hua no longer liked Jean Shuriwet, seeing such a loving kiss scene, even if it hadn't gone through post-production, still made his heart ache. May all the lovers in the world be together, but he was still waiting for the flower in the mirror and the moon in the water. He didn't even know when it would end. After being praised by Bai Hua, Jean Shuriwet felt embarrassed. She stole a glance at Chun Guang, then blushed and ran to the dressing room to remove her makeup. Chun Guang watched from the side for a while, then went to remove her makeup as well. Big Beard and Jiang Yage started to reshoot a few scenes that Chun Guang felt were unsatisfactory before he came to the set. Lu Chao and the others surrounded Bai Hua, keeping a distance from the crew and chatting with one another. President Chun is really a happy winner in life. That's right. Although they said on Weibo that there's nothing between them, I think there's definitely a problem. The way they looked at me just now was amazing. Even I, who doesn't watch movies much, was moved to tears when I knew they were filming. If I didn't treat them as my other half in my heart, wouldn't the acting be too realistic? But there's still a scene with Jiang Yage later. All right, President Chun is doing his middle-aged makeup right now, right? Yes. Such a complicated makeup. To change his age will probably take an hour or so. I still have a meeting at the company, so I'll take my leave first. Me too. After all, this group of big shots were busy people. They had already given Chun Guang enough face by following Bai Hua over to greet him. With too many people here, it was hard to guarantee that Chun Guang wouldn't feel awkward. Therefore, everyone found an excuse to leave, leaving only Bai Hua, who had nothing else to do today, to stay. Of course, when the big shots left, they couldn't help but feel regretful that they didn't get to see Chun Guang kiss the two heavenly queens in a row. This was also the reason why they left at the last minute. They were really afraid that Chun Guang and Jiang Yage's kissing scene would be so perfect. If that happened, how would they flatter him? It wouldn't be a good thing if they accidentally saw a love triangle between the rich and the powerful. They thought about how some of their descendants were addicted to these two little girls, and then thought about how they could use filming to get close to Qingguang. They couldn't help but feel heartache for their juniors. Compared to ordinary people, their juniors might be envied as second-generation rich kids, but compared to Qingguang, their second-generation rich kids were really embarrassing. Little Chen was really amazing. In just half a year, he had gone from being an ordinary student to the top. Even young Master Bai from Yanjing, who came to Wujing, specially came to greet him. With this kind of treatment and status, it wouldn't be wrong to say that he was the #1 young master in China. Unfortunately, he didn't have any background. If his good-for-nothing sons had 1/10 of his ability, it would be enough to comfort his old heart. About 3 hours later, at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the second kiss scene officially began. Because this was the last part of the boxing match, the props had to be completely restored to the previous scenes. As for the extras, it didn't have to worry too much. It would be fine as long as the extras were glued to the extras in the post-production. In addition, some of the main audience members who had lines and close-ups also came to the set today. Bai Hua stood far beside Big Beard and looked at the monitor with him. When he saw Chen Guang kissing Jiang Yage again and Jiang Yage crying tears of happiness, he also unknowingly teared up. He didn't know that even though he was separated by more than 20 meters, he was still dragged into the world of acting by Chen Guang. At this time, his mind was turning over and over again, and all he could think about was the tall girl who he bitterly loved but didn't respond to. The love in a movie is so happy, but why is my life so bitter? Bai Hua silently turned his face away, not wanting to let others see his tears. He really wanted to drink a glass of wine and then forget everything. Chapter 997. Cut. Okay. Perfect. We're really done this time. Bai Hua was lost in thought when Big Beard Deng, who was sitting next to him, suddenly shouted. He stood up from his chair with a face full of excitement, waving his hands and feet. Bai Hua was shocked. He looked at Big Beard's back. Even though he couldn't see his face, he could feel the excitement and vigor coming from him. He didn't look like an old man in his 50s at all. On the big set, the other crew members also raised their arms and cheered. For many people in the crew, the months-long filming had finally come to an end. Although it was faster than they had imagined, when the dust finally settled, they still felt a sense of satisfaction, as if the long journey had finally come to an end. This was also a kind of relief. Chen Guang was still lying on the edge of the boxing ring, his head hanging in the air. Jiang Yage supported his head from below, still crying. She desperately moved her mouth closer to Chen Guang's. Not only that, but her tongue was also desperately moving forward. When she was chatting with Jin Shuriwei, she had put it nicely. The two of them were still wondering if Chen Guang would stick his tongue out. Previously, when Chen Guang and Jin Shuriwei were filming, it was Jin Shuriwei who was completely pulled into the scene and took the initiative to attack. Now, it was Jiang Yage who was also pulled into the scene, because she was playing the role of a particularly active and youthful, beautiful girl fan. Her performance was even more aggressive than Jin Shuriwei's. From the start of the scene, she wanted to rub Chen Guang's neck into her body. Her tongue was like an electric drill straight into his body. At that time, Chen Guang didn't avoid it. As the world's best actor, he brought others into the scene, and he himself was also in the scene. But now that Big Beard had clearly shouted, "Cut!" and the others had already started cheering, Chen Guang had instantly broken away from his acting, but Jiang Yage was still immersed in it. Imagine the scene at this moment. The others were raising their arms and cheering, flying hats, and congratulating each other in various ways. But he and Jiang Yage were still kissing nonstop. It was really quite awkward. He tried to speak, but this woman was too unreserved. "Do you want me to eat your tongue?" He couldn't speak, afraid that she would accidentally bite him. At this moment, Chen Guang wanted to push her away, but he was in an awkward position. So when he forcefully pushed his head up, he ended up landing on her chest instead. Although when there was no one around, not to mention touching it, it wouldn't be a problem even if he held it in his hands and molded it into all sorts of shapes, but now they were in public. There were so many people, especially Brother Bai, who was watching. In Bai Hua's heart, he and Jin Shirue were the ones who had that kind of relationship. If he acted too intimately with Jiang Yage in front of him, it would seem like he was letting her down. Chun Guang knew that his thoughts were quite shameless, so other than this kissing scene, he had been trying very hard to keep his distance from Jin Shirue. But just from Jin Shirue's kiss, which was almost like her acting, Chun Guang knew that his efforts were probably in vain. The hardest thing to manipulate was the human heart. The tree may desire peace, but the wind will not subside. He had even said something as heartless as breaking up. So how could he push Jin Shirue away? What made him even more distressed was that this matter would actually be better handled by Jiang Yage. But it was obvious that Jiang Yage didn't want to have a showdown with Jin Shirue. She hid the fact that the two of them had already had a relationship from Jin Shirue and even gave Jin Shirue advice. Chun Guang was speechless. He didn't know what the obsessed Jiang Yage was thinking. Bai Hua was still sitting in the same place. The cameraman left the camera and went to celebrate. He didn't turn off the power. At this time, he was still looking at the two of them kissing passionately. He had never acted before, so he didn't know how to evaluate the current situation. But he had already found an explanation for the two of them. He heard that really good actors had a process of getting into and out of character. Maybe the two of them were too immersed in character and couldn't come out of it for a while. Although Bai Hua hadn't read the script, he could feel the sincerity of the two characters. The more he thought about it, the more envious he was. The happier the others on the set were, the lonelier he felt. Finally, the set gradually quieted down. They couldn't be excited for long. What awaited Big Beard Dang and the other directors was the next step of the special effects and editing work. They still had a lot of work to do. One after another, people noticed that Chun Guang and Jiang Yage were still kissing. Many of them pinched their fingers and counted. It had been about 4 to 5 minutes, right? Aren't you guys a little too much showing off your affection in and out of the show? Chun Guang was really embarrassed. He secretly reached out to scratch Jiang Yage's armpit. Aha! Jiang Yage couldn't hold it anymore. She giggled and stepped back. She said unhappily, "What are you doing? Be more serious when you're filming. Don't disturb me." Chun Guang shrank back into the middle of the boxing ring and then stood up straight. "You still have the cheek to say that to me? We've already finished filming. Okay, it's completely finished." Jiang Yage was stunned. "How is that possible? We just kissed. It was at most 5 seconds. Chun Guang really didn't want to talk to her. "Thank you. It's been 5 minutes. Jiang Yage exclaimed. It can't be, right? Where did all the time go?" Chun Guang shrugged. "I haven't even had the chance to enjoy my youth, and I'm already old." Big Beard and the other main cast members couldn't help but laugh. They all thought that Jiang Yage was completely immersed in her character. She even bumped into the joke of 10,000 years in a blink of an eye. At this moment, Jin Shirue, who was extremely envious of Jiang Yage, also walked up and patted her on the shoulder. "All right, the movie is really finished this time. Go and remove your makeup." Jiang Yage quietly helped Jin Shirue up and looked in Chun Guang's direction reluctantly. She said to Jin Shirue in a low voice, "I haven't even NG yet. It's only been one shot. I can't take it lying down." "I didn't either." "That's true." Chun Guang also cupped his hands in greeting to everyone. He had intended to remove his makeup, but he saw that the main cast members were all staring at him. He didn't know what he was thinking, but his brain worked for a moment. He said casually, "It's rare for the movie to be finished. Uncle, don't work tonight. Why don't we all find a place in Wujing for a meal? It can be considered a celebration." Deng Xiaojiang was stunned at first, but he immediately reacted. He thought to himself that this kid had really changed a lot in the past few months. He had matured and become more stable. He didn't even need me to remind him. He had taken the initiative to treat the entire crew to a meal to celebrate. He was no longer the willful college student who did things his own way, but the real boss Chun who had the demeanor of a general. Of course you have to treat. You are the biggest investor of the movie. For many people in the crew, a treat from someone else might be a social event that they didn't want to waste their time on. But for the #1 internet celebrity in China, the boss of the movie investment company, and the person who had led the entire cast and crew to great heights in the past 2 months, it was naturally a big deal. There was another round of joyous noise on the set. Chen Guang saw that everyone was happy, and he was also happy. He greeted Bai Hua. "Brother Bai, since you are here, don't leave tonight. Let's go eat together." Bai Hua subconsciously wanted to refuse, but before he could say anything, Chen Guang turned around and went to the makeup room. "Sai, forget it. He has already invited me. If I don't go, it'll be a little disrespectful." Bai Hua didn't know how to describe his feelings at the moment. Everyone else was so happy, but his heart was heavy. He couldn't feel happy. He also knew that this wasn't good, but he couldn't control his feelings. Forget it. He would just find an excuse to leave when he came out later. But it was rare for him to come here, so he had to ask Chen Guang about Chenyu. He was really unwilling to just leave like this. While he was worrying about his gains and losses, Bai Hua finally followed the crew to the most famous place in Wujing City, Everyday Fishing Bay. When the two buses for MPVs and Chen Guang's Passat stopped together, it was already 8 o'clock at night. However, the staff of Everyday Fishing Bay, who had received the call, had already lined up in a long line at the entrance. A red carpet led from the entrance to the hall inside, stretching for more than 100 meters. An eye-catching red banner was hung at the entrance of the hall. It read, "A warm welcome to the crew of Women for Dinner at Everyday Fishing Bay. May women do well at the box office." From the time Old Ma, the floor manager, made the call to reserve seats to the boss of Everyday Fishing Bay, it took less than 2 hours. The respect expressed by the boss was evident. This old restaurant, which had a history of decades, was known as the best fish in Wujing. In addition to the authentic taste and great reputation, Chen Guang chose this restaurant for another purpose. This restaurant was located in Shuanghe County, a suburb of Wujing, which happened to be very close to the campus of Gokyo University in Shuanghe. After dinner, he could easily stroll back to school by himself and call Lin Jingwei and the others to have a sumptuous meal. Chen Guang, who was walking at the front, cupped his hands to greet others and marveled in his heart. He didn't expect that he would receive such treatment just by leading a team to have a meal. Things were different now. In the past, in order to have a sumptuous meal here, everyone in the dorm had to reserve seats at least a month in advance. After paying the bill, they had to pinch their fingers and count how many steamed buns they would have to eat for the next month. He had mixed feelings. No wonder so many people were after fame and power. People living at the top of the pyramid were much more convenient than ordinary people. Even if it was just a small meal, they could enjoy benefits that ordinary people couldn't imagine. He called a few of his buddies in the dorm. He wanted to call Gao Ye and Sun Xiaoxuan, but in the end, only Lin Jingwei came. Xiong'er and Bai Fan invited someone to play basketball, while Gao Ye and Sun Xiaoxuan were busy with the student council. I think Sun doesn't want to come. After everyone was settled, Chen Guang went downstairs alone to wait for Lin Jingwei, which was what he said the moment he arrived. Chen Guang couldn't do anything about it. I didn't think it through. Chapter 998. Lin Jingwei looked at him and sighed. "Sometimes I wonder, are you the second-generation heir, or am I the second-generation heir? Compared to you, I'm really the perfect man, the kind that you can't find even if you look for a lantern. Let's not talk about me, just look at Brother Xiao Bai. He's a handsome man, a gentleman, and the number of girls who like him can form a line from Zizaman to the Olympic Village. But he's also hanging his heart on you, you crooked tree. Sai, look at how innocent we are. Standing with a decent person like me, Brother Guang, is it stressful for you?" Sai. Chen Guang felt uneasy after hearing what Lin Jingwei said. All right. It's all my fault." Seeing Chen Guang sigh, Lin Jingwei comforted him again. "All right, I understand. It's not all your fault. Everyone has emotions and desires. With your personality, you can't take the initiative. Otherwise, you'd be able to open an imperial palace. I'm not blaming you. I just feel that this is a little unfair to the class representative. Gao Yu often talks to me about the class representative. She wants me to advise you, but I can't give you any advice. What are your plans? Are you going to hide like this for the rest of your life? What if the class rep doesn't give up and you leave her all alone?" Chen Guang felt even more helpless. "You just said that I'm a playboy. Why do you want me to give the class rep an answer now? I've tried, but she won't give up. What I mean is, since you're already a playboy, Why are you so shy? Why don't you just give her the title of class rep? I can't do it. I'm not good enough for her. Lin Jingwei rolled his eyes. I'm really impressed by the two of you. Even your excuses are so similar. Let's not talk about this. Let's see. Chen Guang pulled Lin Jingwei into the private room and asked him to sit on the other side of Bai Hua. There were more than 60 people in the crew, but only a few of them were able to sit in the private room. Only Big Beard Deng and a few other assistant directors, as well as Yang Shi and Old Ma, Chen Guang, Jiang Yage, Jin Shuriwei, and Bai Hua, and now Lin Jingwei. The large round table was just about full. Lin Jingwei didn't want to make Chen Guang's mood too heavy, so after sitting down, he took the initiative to chat with Bai Hua. But after all, this wasn't like in private. They couldn't talk about the matters in the imperial city of Beijing, so they could only talk about other things. In the end, after just a few words, Lin Jingwei brought up a sore spot and asked, Brother Xiaobai, you went to visit the filming crew today? What kind of scenes did they shoot? How did it feel to watch a movie for the first time? Bai Hua, who had finally calmed down, felt a lump in his throat again. It was pretty good. Pretty good? Was it Brother Guang who acted well? Or was the movie itself good? Brother Xiaobai, are you interested in investing in a movie? We've all seen it online. It's pretty easy to invest in a movie these days. Although most of the people in the private room didn't know who Lin Jingwei was, seeing that he was quite familiar with Bai Hua, they could roughly guess that this classmate of Chen Guang wasn't simple. They all chimed in, saying that with CEO Bai's status and wealth, it wouldn't be surprising for him to invest in a movie. Even Jiang Yage was interested. She pulled Jin Shuriwei over and said that if they really wanted to shoot a movie, they might not have the time to be the main characters, but it wouldn't be a problem for them to make a cameo appearance. Bai Hua's eyes were fixed on Chen Guang. Chen Guang, if I invest in a movie, can you help me get your sister, Chen Yu, to play the female lead role? Chen Guang, who was drinking water, almost spat it on Bai Hua's face. Huh? Who'll be the male lead? Bai Hua blushed. Me. The moment he said that, Chen Guang, Lin Jingwei, and Jiang Yage were all dumbfounded. Brother Xiaobai was really going all out. This guy had obviously seen Chen Guang's kissing scene today and wanted to take advantage of her. Chen Guang placed his right foot on Lin Jingwei's foot under the table and rubbed it with all his might before forcefully putting on an act and said with difficulty, My big sister doesn't like to show her face in public. Bai Hua sighed again. You're right. I was too impulsive. Please apologize to him on my behalf. Impulsive my ass. Apologize my ass. Let's not talk about whether Chen Yu really existed. Even if there was such a person, no one had heard what you said. There was no need for you to apologize. As long as you can borrow my mouth to speak to the non-existent Chen Yu, you'll be satisfied, right? There's no need to apologize. It's not a big deal. Chen Guang evaded. On the other side, Jiang Yage knew that Chen Yu was Chen Guang in disguise. She knew that the more she said, the more mistakes she would make. She quickly stopped talking and pulled Jin Shuriwei to look at the food on the table. Bai Hua fiercely drained the cup in front of him, choking and coughing twice. He then said, Actually, the apology is fake. I just want to see her. At this time, the other people at the table also read the meaning. They all praised that Chen Yu must be an unparalleled person to be able to get CEO Bai's favor. Bai Hua felt honored by the praise. No one forced him a drink. He filled his glass again and drained it. Then he cupped his hands to the crowd. Director Deng, you're right. I'm not afraid to say it as a joke. Ordinary women can't enter my eyes. But ever since I met Miss Chen Yu, although it's not exaggerated to say that I can't eat or drink, I really can't accept other people. I don't want to judge her appearance. It's blasphemy to only look at her appearance. But in my opinion, in this world, no woman can compare to her temperament. Even if I say this in front of Shuriwei and Solomon, I'll say it. Solomon, don't you think so? Bai Hua drank a bit too much. Jiang Yage secretly looked at Chen Guang, whose face was so red that he wanted to hang himself. She nodded. Brother Bai is right. I really can't compare to Chen Yu's temperament. She began to sympathize with Bai Hua again. She lifted her foot and stepped on Chen Guang's left foot. As a result, Chen Guang's right foot stepped on Lin Jingwei, while his left foot was stepped on by Jiang Yage, creating a terrible cycle. Big Beard Deng's eyes widened. So amazing. Listening to CEO by, I really want to see it. Maybe she's really a natural-born movie queen. Chen Guang, you have such a sister? Chen Guang squeezed out a smile. My sister doesn't want to be a star. Bai Hua, who was next to him, took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention and gulped down another glass. Chen Guang is right. All right, last time I asked you to help me bring her a letter. What did she say after reading it? Chen Guang didn't know how to answer him. He just gritted his teeth and thought, I can't let this guy continue to play. I really want to ask Lu Li for a pill that can erase other people's memories and stuff it into his stomach. Since you're so shameless, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Take this, it's even more ruthless than the good guy card. He coughed lightly. My sister said that she's indebted to you, but it's not fate. She already has someone in her heart. Bai Hua froze as if he had been hit by a heavy blow. His emotions became a little too agitated as he poured himself another glass. Just as he was about to send it to his mouth, Lin Jingwei, who was beside him, quickly snatched it away. Brother Xiaobai, you've drunk too much. Unexpectedly, Bai Hua abruptly pulled his right hand back, shoved the bottle into his mouth, and drained it. He slammed the table and shouted hysterically. Is this it? Can you tell me who it is? I want to know why I lost. Why? The atmosphere at the table suddenly became very strange. It was supposed to be a good celebration party, but a person of extraordinary status got himself drunk at the table. He was hurt by love and made a scene in front of everyone. It was a complete letdown. If it had been someone else, Big Beard would probably have chased him away with a glare, and the rest of the crew wouldn't have given him any face. But this was Bai Hua, the current vice president of Tianjin Energy, the person who had the power to control tens of billions of cash flow. Ever since he returned to China, he had become the new head of a huge state-owned enterprise that was very popular in the Chinese business world. Even though his current position had little to do with the entertainment industry, everyone knew that such a person would have a terrifying influence in China in the future. If anyone dared to offend him, he didn't have to do anything. He just needed to put on a show, and besides a famous director like Big Beard, everyone at the table would lose their jobs. Who could afford to offend him? Everyone didn't expect this. Wasn't this young CEO by quite an experienced person in the news? Why was his condition so strange today? Everyone at the table looked at each other, as if they were sitting on pins and needles. They didn't know whether to stand or leave. They all felt that they had seen something they shouldn't have seen. If Mr. Bai sobered up later and remembered that he had embarrassed himself at the table, he might even hold a grudge against the others who had seen him at the table. This was King embarrassing. Chen Guang also didn't expect that a good meal would turn into such a situation. He was also angry. This is my celebration party. Aren't you hurting my reputation by acting like a drunkard here? Besides, your alcohol tolerance is a bit bad. Brother Bai, you drank too much. Lin Jingwei could hear the anger in his heart, so he tried to smooth things over. Chen Guang, stop it. Brother Bai doesn't usually drink white wine, so he lost control a bit. You know this the best. It's really bitter. Bai Hua's mind didn't listen to what Lin Jingwei was saying. He continued to stare straight at Chen Guang. He stammered, "Yes, I'm sorry, Chen Guang. I didn't mean to make things difficult for you. I just can't accept it. I'm sorry. I beg you to understand me. I've never felt this way before. I can't explain it to you, but I really treated her wholeheartedly. I also know that forced melons won't be sweet. Feelings can't be one-sided. I understand that. I just don't understand. I don't understand. I'm not trying to take revenge. I'm not that kind of person. If it's really inconvenient for you to tell me who that person is, then you can describe to me what kind of person he is. I can't. I can't lose without knowing why." Bai Hua's tone became much gentler. His current state was that of a person who was drunk but didn't think he was drunk. After saying some nonsense, he temporarily regained some sobriety and felt ashamed of his drunken antics. In his heart, Chen Guang felt that Chun Yu was a fictional character, and the person she was in love with was even more fictional. You want me to describe a fictional person's fictional lover? Aren't you forcing me to bluff? At that moment, Jiang Yage poked his waist from the side. Chen Guang turned his head to look at her. Jiang Yage's eyes darted to the door from time to time. Her original intention was to think of a way to drag Bai Hua away. They couldn't stay here any longer. Chun Guang pretended to be enlightened. He looked at Jiang Yage with his mouth slightly agape and his eyes wide open. Jiang Yage cursed in her heart. What did you understand? She wanted to say something, but it was too late. Chun Guang turned his head to look at Bai Hua and took a deep breath. Brother Bai, I really didn't want to tell you this, but if you really want to ask, I have no other choice. Speak. Bai Hua's eyes were hazy. Chun Guang said resolutely, my sister said that how can people of different genders fall in love? She likes gentle, petite, and adorable girls. Bai Hua's eyes widened and his face became paler. His defeat was downright hopeless. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that he would lose to a man. The woman I like also likes women. No wonder my hot blood couldn't be exchanged for even the slightest bit of response. I used the wrong force. Why is my life so bitter? The most frightening thing was that the air suddenly became quiet. But in that instant, the private room was completely silent. Everyone's mouth was wide open, forming an O shape. Lin Jingwei, who was standing behind Bai Hua, had a look of despair on his face. My brother Guang, you really dare to King trick me. Jiang Yage clutched her chest, feeling that her heart was about to explode. Only Jin Shuriyue, who had seen Chun Yu before but didn't know anything, had a look of enlightenment. She subconsciously said, no wonder. When I saw Chun Yu in Beijing, I felt that she was especially manly. She had a little temperament in that aspect. Don't say any more. Bai Hua clutched his chest, his right hand holding the wine bottle, stumbling out of the room step by step. I'm going out for a breath of fresh air. Chun Guang, Lin Jingwei, and Jin Jiang hurriedly followed him out. Before leaving the room, Chun Guang turned around and apologized to the others in the private room. Everyone, I'm sorry, but Brother Bai didn't mean any harm. You guys continue to eat. We'll find a way to send him to rest. Don't take it to heart. Big Beard and the others nodded, not daring to take it to heart. They only wished that they could lose their memories after tonight. They were 2 steps late. When Chun Guang and the others came out, Bai Hua was pulled by Lin Jingwei and poured the remaining half bottle of white wine into his mouth. Lin Jingwei was so anxious that he jumped up and down. Brother Bai, don't. The few of them crowded out the door under the surprised gaze of the daily Fishing Bay's waitress. Bai Hua didn't even take 2 steps before the wind blew against him. He held onto the tree next to him and began to vomit. However, he didn't sober up after vomiting. Instead, he became even more drunk. He struggled out of Lin Jingwei and Chun Guang's hands, tears streaming down his face. He didn't look like a graceful gentleman at all. He looked like a destitute young man who was trapped by love. The way he was, it would only make people sad and cry. I feel terrible. I want to drink. Chun Guang raised his hand and wanted to knock Bai Hua out. Lin Jingwei stopped him and shook his head slightly. Forget it. Let him vent. Your internal force should be able to prevent him from dying, right? Chun Guang retracted his hand. That won't happen. Then let him drink as much as he wants. This can't go on like this. It's too torturous. Let him give up completely. Brother Guang, do me a favor. I beg you. Other than a few of you, I only have Brother Bai as a friend. Seeing him like this, my heart feels terrible. If we knew it would be like this, we would have thought of something else. I'm also guilty. Chun Guang sighed. Fine. Didn't you drink? You drive to Chief Lu's club and let him drink as much as he wants. Sigh. Unfortunately, there's no medicine for regret in this world. Alcohol can only poison the intestines. Thus, the group of people drove Chun Guang's Passat. Jiang Yage drove, Jin Shuriyue sat in the front passenger seat, and Chun Guang and Lin Jingwei sat in the back. One on the left and the other on the right. They carried Bai Hua toward the city. When they first got on the car, Bai Hua was still quiet. However, halfway through the journey, Bai Hua finally did something that made Chun Guang break out in a cold sweat. He took out his phone and turned to look at Chun Guang. Chun Guang, let me see your sister. I swear this is the last time I'll mention this. I want to hear the words you said to me from her mouth. Otherwise, I won't believe it. Just when Guang was about to reject, Bai Hua waved his phone and continued, I took a photo of you outside the Silver Bull Hotel and saved it in my web drive. I originally planned to delete it and never mention it again. I know that you won't be happy about it. It doesn't matter if you hate me in the future. But I just want to see her one last time. For this, I could do anything. After today, I'm going to empty my network disk, and I'll never mention it again. Damn. Okay. Looking at Lin Jingwei and Jin Shuriwei, who were puzzled and looking at him, Lord Guang finally gave up. He would never let Lin Jingwei see a photo of him wearing a pink chiffon nightgown. In addition, Brother Xiao Bai, you're too much of a braver person with alcohol. Brother Guang, what kind of photo is it? Lin Jingwei asked curiously. Scram. Guang only gave him one word. Chapter 999. If he had a choice, he really didn't want the legendary Chun Yu to reappear. He felt that this was a stain on his life. If he could strangle his other self, he would rather let Chun Yu die. Unfortunately, he couldn't do it. Compared to a stain that Lin Jingwei already knew about, Guang was more willing to hide another stain. At the very least, Lin Jingwei was involved in the whole matter of him pretending to be Chun Yu. Moreover, he was the one who got into it, so he couldn't absolve himself from the blame. He couldn't laugh at himself about this. But if this guy found out that he was wearing women's clothing when he was free and that it was a sexy and revealing female clothing, Guang was worried that he would have to kill him to silence him. After all, Lin Jingwei was only a little over 20 years old. He still had a lot of years ahead of him. It might be too cruel to let him die at such a young age. So, since Bai Hua said that this was the last time, forget it. He would just pinch his nose and bear it. After all, there was still Jin Shuriwei present. If more people saw the photo in Bai Hua's hands, Guang really didn't know how he would face the rest of his life. Of course, Brother Xiao Bai had completely abandoned his integrity. They were already so familiar with each other, but he actually secretly took photos and then threatened him afterwards. Later on, he would definitely give him the most painful stab. This is the path you chose, and this one is also doing it for your own good. Instead of letting you suffer for no reason, why don't I, the old man, transform into a fairy and purify you? I want you to completely give up. I want your heart to shatter into ashes. I want you to directly escape into the void. I want you to be afraid of women in the future. There's no end to this. You're still pestering me. When they arrived at the clubhouse, Jiang Yage and Jin Shuriwei covered their faces before entering. Although this was Lu Chao's territory, Guang still didn't want the news to appear on tomorrow's news headlines that Guang and Jiang Yage visited a private clubhouse together. Since he quietly entered the private room and sat down, Lin Jingwei waved the check to greet the waiter. In short, he asked the waiter in the club to behave and not disturb him. Bai Hua sat on the sofa for about 10 seconds before he turned around and looked at Guang anxiously. Guang couldn't deny it. Sigh, all right. Don't look at me like that. I'll go look for her now. Is she really in the 5 capitals? Bai Hua was overjoyed. What else could Guang say? He nodded and said, It's really there, and it's very close to here. Okay, you guys go ahead and sing. I'll be back soon. Bai Hua jumped up from the sofa and said, Jingwei, help me get a dozen beers. I want to boost my courage. The others also didn't want to talk to him. How can you boost your courage with your current courage? You're CEO Bai, and you don't even want your face anymore. How can you boost your courage? Are you trying to boost your cholecystitis? On the other side, Guang pulled Jiang Yage and ran away. After all, he pretended to come out to pick them up, but he was drunk. He couldn't violate his principle of never driving after drinking. So, Jiang Yage had to be his designated driver. After the two walked out of the private room, Guang personally went to buy out the private room next door. He was very familiar with this move. What should we do now? Jiang Yage seemed excited and nervous. Even though she had already seen Guang's good deed, she didn't expect to have the opportunity to personally participate in his cross-dressing process. This was a wonderful experience that couldn't be found anywhere else. Guang shrugged. What else can we do? Put on makeup. Did you bring anything? Jiang Yage shook her head. I usually only put on some light makeup. I'll only bring some foundation with me. I'm afraid it'll be difficult. Then, Do you know how to put on makeup? How good are you compared to Sister Hua? Jiang Yage knew who Sister Hua was the moment she heard her name. She said cheerfully, "To be honest, I learned from Sister Hua." Sister Hua said that I'm only a fingernail away from her. Chen Guang thought for a moment. That's good. I'll call someone to send something over. Chen Guang thought that he couldn't let Big Beard Deng know about this. Luckily, he still had the phone number of Boss Hao Yukai, the CEO of Iris Flower Prop Company. Although it was a bit difficult to ask someone to send the equipment over at 10 o'clock at night, his face was bigger than the sky. Boss Hao shouldn't have any objections. Hao Yukai jumped 3 feet high after the phone call. He asked for the location and the equipment requirements. He immediately patted his chest and said that his company wasn't far from here, and the equipment would arrive in half an hour at most. Chen Guang's request was simple. He wanted the special makeup equipment that the guy who sang The Drunken Concubine used on stage. He also wanted a suit. Chen Guang didn't know what Hao Yukai wanted, but it shouldn't be much. After all, Sister Hua, the #1 magic artist in Beijing, had only carried a suitcase over. As for why he wanted these things, he wouldn't explain it to Hao Yukai. Boss Hao wouldn't ask either. As long as Chen Guang owed him a favor, he would be more than happy. In just 25 minutes, Hao Yukai personally carried the bags and even brought a makeup artist to the rescue. How could Chen Guang let somebody he didn't trust see his ugly appearance? If word got out, he wouldn't be able to face the world anymore. Since Jiang Yage was there, Chen Guang decisively sent everyone away. Then, Chen Guang used his phone to search for the photos he had taken when he was Chun Yu and asked Jiang Yage to compare them. About 40 minutes later, the supermodel Chun Yu reappeared. Jiang Yage looked at her work of art with satisfaction. When I don't want to sing or act anymore, I can steal Sister Hua's business, she said as she poked Chen Guang's fake breasts. So annoying. It's more bouncy than mine. Stop it. It's been an hour. Go back to the room next door and tell them I'll be there soon. Will Chen Yu be there soon, or will Chen Guang be there soon? Slapping her butt, Chen Guang roared, I told you to stop fooling around. But your voice right now, it's okay. Don't worry about me. I have a way. Jiang Yage responded. Then, she looked at Chen Guang up and down happily before going back to the room next door. Chen Guang took out a cup from his bag and called out to Liu Li in his mind. Unfortunately, there was no response. He had no choice but to clench his teeth and sink into the cup. As soon as he went in, he was greeted by a fist. Lu Ming's cheering came from afar. Sister Liu Li, quick! He's here again. Beat him up. Chen Guang quickly covered his face. Stop it. This is a critical moment. Don't ruin my face. Liu Li's fist didn't hit his face in the end. Instead, she laughed. This idiot, pretending to be a woman again. Lu Ming also laughed and waved his big green fruit. Yo, I couldn't tell. You're pretty good looking. This guy really knows how to have fun. He's self-sufficient. Chen Guang touched his chest. There's something. What the hell? He didn't know what was wrong with the heavenly holy grail today. It brought in the makeup it put on outside. Usually, he would run away decisively. But now he was under the eaves. Let me lower my head first. The situation is urgent. Don't tease me. I just want to settle this mess. Help me. I will never forget your kindness. Liu Li rolled her eyes. It's not impossible for me to help. I won't hold it against you for blowing me up last time. But I only have one request. You don't want me to ask about the 170 million, right? No matter how slow-witted Chen Guang was, he should have guessed the situation. If it had been in the past, he would have been so distressed that he would have wanted to fight Liu Li to the death. But now he was not so sure of money. He could still bear the loss of 170 million yuan. Although it was still painful, he had to accept it. You're smart. Liu Li nodded contentedly. All right. I won't ask anymore. Actually, I knew that you, the Divine Emperor's financial butler, wasn't reliable from the television dramas you watched. You're still talking. You're still exposing my scars. I won't talk anymore. Chen Guang didn't admit it verbally, but in his heart he was cursing. A person's shamelessness was invincible. A god's shamelessness could destroy the world. If you squander, then so be it. Why is it so hard to admit a failure and mistake? You're allowed to make mistakes, but you can't let others correct you? I'm not blaming you. Looks like I have to beat you up today. Damn it. How could I forget that she can hear my cursing in my heart? But Lily didn't go too far. She was just scaring him. When Qin Guang came out of the world in the cup, he coughed lightly. His voice had changed back to the perfect Qinyu voice. All right. He took a deep breath. The world-class acting was on again. Forget it. I'll forcefully hypnotize myself first. Thinking about it carefully, weren't most of the actresses in Peking opera played by the teachers? That was called art. It was called creation. I treated it as a play, a movie. Today, I'm going to act as a handsome T who likes girls. Art comes from life. Life is the highest level of art. Although I'm not standing on the stage, nor am I singing Peking opera, my life is a play. A play is like life. Thinking about it this way, he felt at ease. Then he prepared to open the door. But just as his hand touched the doorknob, he quickly retracted it and hid behind the door. Jiang Yage and Jean Shiyue's voices came from outside. He didn't know why Jiang Yage came out with Jean Shiyue the moment she went in. Sister Shiyue, you're really something. Why are you drinking wine? It's not good for your throat. You don't have a high tolerance for alcohol. Jiang Yage rebuked Jean Shiyue. Lin Jingwei drank alone with Bai Hua. He can't take it anymore. I saw that he was pitiful, so I wanted to help him finish off some of the beer. I didn't expect that I couldn't take it anymore. I only drank 1.5 bottles, and my head is already dizzy. Jean Shiyue's voice sounded a little drunk. Hey, why do you care about them? With Chun Guang around, they won't be in trouble no matter how much they drink. You don't know his martial arts. It's amazing. Didn't you say he had something to do and left first? Oh, yes. But if something really happens, I'll call him and ask him to come back. The two chatted as they walked away. They were preparing to go to the toilet to vomit for a while. Qin Guang wasn't in a hurry to go out. He planned to wait until the two returned to their room. After waiting for 3 or 4 minutes, their voices came from outside again. Chapter 1000. Sister Shiyue, stand steady. Sigh, Brother Bai is bewitched today. Don't blame Bai Hua. I can see that he is sincere towards Miss Chenyu. We should be happy for him that he can find happiness. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. Let's go vomit some more. You didn't even vomit before you retched. No, it's okay. A little beer is not a big deal. Qin Guang had goosebumps all over his body. It would be a miracle if he could find happiness. Just as he was thinking about it, he heard a few drunken voices coming from outside. Brother Xiang, walk steadily. You've drunk too much today. No, it's okay. It's nothing. I'm in a good mood today. Brothers, drink as much as you want. You must drink as much as you want. If I don't drink to empty my pockets, it's you guys that don't give me face. Qin Guang frowned. At this time, Jean Shiyue and Jiang Yage haven't entered the private room yet, but the drunkard's voice came from the other side. If they were to bump into him, he's afraid that something bad will happen. They came in a hurry and didn't ask Lu Chao for the most private room. There were too many people in the common area. Hopefully, nothing bad will happen. Blarg. My God. Are you blind, woman? Damn it. Perhaps it's because of what she was afraid of. Jean Shiyue's footsteps were unstable, and she bumped into another drunk person. The two brushed shoulders, and Jean Shiyue accidentally stepped on Brother Xiang's foot. Then she quickly retracted her leg in a daze and leaned towards Brother Xiang's direction. How could Jiang Yage watch her being taken advantage of? She quickly put her arms around her waist from behind and dragged her back. She squeezed her stomach. Well, it was a big deal. Jean Shiyue had been retching in the washroom for a while and didn't vomit anything out. Now, she vomited everything out and landed on Brother Xiang's shiny leather shoes. Qin Guang heard the noise outside. Although he didn't see what was happening, he knew that things were going to be bad. He couldn't care less about hiding. He pushed the door open and was about to go out, but it was already noisy outside. Brother Xiang had vomited all over his shoes, and a lot of it had even drifted onto his trousers. Even though he was drunk, the first thing he smelled was a lingering, sour smell, and he was instantly enraged. After all, Jean Shiyue had eaten at the Fish Manor tonight, so it was only natural for her to have some seafood on her. When she felt nauseous just now, everyone subconsciously leaned forward, trying not to get any of it on themselves. They could only let others suffer. Even the goddess's vomit stinks. You stupid woman. You're courting death. As soon as Guang walked out, he saw Brother Xiang scolding and reaching out to push Jin Shuriwei and Jiang Yage. His eyes narrowed, and he didn't want to be polite. Although my people accidentally vomited on you, I understand that you're angry. But I'm sorry, I don't stand on the side of reason. I'll teach you a lesson first, and then we'll talk about compensation. I can't just watch Jin Shuriwei get hurt, can I? Stop. Although he planned to give Brother Xiang a fierce blow, the distance was too far, and he was afraid that he wouldn't make it in time. Guang thought that he had to restrain himself since he was disguised as Chunyu. He was worried that if he used too much power, the makeup on his face would be shattered. Therefore, he decided to gain the upper hand by a show of strength. As he shouted, he quickly approached, intending to use his fierce voice and expression to shock the other party psychologically. But as soon as he opened his voice, he realized that something was wrong. My lion's roar, full of vigor, is gone. It was a woman's voice. It was clear, loud, and slightly sharp, with 3 points of charm and 7 points of heroism. If one had to describe it as hearing the voice before seeing the person, at this time, when people heard Guang's voice, they could picture a heroic and icy beauty in their minds. Although it still sounded quite domineering, it didn't feel right at all. Chunyu first shocked himself, and he had goosebumps all over his body, as if he had been electrocuted. But he still achieved his goal. Brother Xiang was stunned for a moment, and his hand that wanted to push Jin Shuriwei slowed down. Jiang Yage quickly pulled Jin Shuriwei back a step, keeping a distance. She was not afraid of trouble, but her and Jin Shuriwei's identity was not ordinary, after all. It would not be good to have a conflict with someone in the club. Now that she saw Guang come out, her heart was completely at ease, and she subconsciously shouted, Guang, Sister Yu. Sister Chunyu, why are you here? Jiang Yage almost scared herself to death, and she almost said the wrong name. Fortunately, Sister Shuriwei was a little drunk, and she should not have reacted. Guang was also scared by Jiang Yage's dragging voice, and he almost died in the hands of his stupid teammate. Brother Xiang turned his head and looked in Guang's direction. Then he looked back at Jiang Yage and Jin Shuriwei, who were hiding their faces in the corner, and raised his eyebrows. What? You guys are together? You want me to stop? Seeing that Brother Xiang had stabilized, Guang slowly walked over and stood before Brother Xiang. At any rate, Guang had a height of 8 meters, and he was half a head taller than Brother Xiang, even if he was only wearing a flat-bottom New Balance. Yes, I'm asking you to stop. It's not a big deal. My friend is a little drunk, and it's her fault for puking on you. I'll apologize to you on behalf of her. Give her face, and let's forget about this matter. How about it? As Guang spoke, he quietly shielded Jiang Yage and Jin Shuriwei behind him. Jin Shuriwei was still a little worried, but Jiang Yage had already begun to worry about Brother Xiang and the others. God bless you guys. Don't be too pretentious, or someone will really die. Face? Who are you? How much face do you have? Do you know how much a pair of Brother Xiang's pants cost? Do you know the brand of Brother Xiang's shoes? Can you afford it? Before Brother Xiang could speak, his follower behind him jumped out first, pointing at Guang's nose and shouting. Guang's face turned cold. He thought to himself that he was not any better than a Miao father and son. Since the fruit of face didn't work, and he couldn't reason with them, he could only talk with his fists. So he quietly took his right hand out of the pocket of his professional business suit pants that he had just changed into. Jiang Yage saw that the situation was not good and quickly held his hand from behind. Otherwise, the finger of this man who was pointing at Guang would be broken. Brother Xiang was not easy to deal with. He lifted his leg, and with one hand held by his follower, he pointed at his trouser leg and said fiercely, "Stop talking nonsense and lick it clean." In an instant, the air in the club's corridor, which was originally heated by the heater, suddenly became 2 degrees colder. Jiang Yage saw that the situation was not good, and she couldn't care less about supporting Jin Shuriwei anymore. She quickly hugged Guang from behind. She didn't speak, but Guang understood what she meant. He took a deep breath and suppressed his anger. Let people go when possible. Don't go too far. I can afford your trousers and shoes. no matter how expensive they are. As for now, you'd better restrain yourself. Brother Xiang had a temper, but Chun Guang had an even bigger temper. Not only did he have a temper, but he also had the confidence. Yo, you were a big shot. Brother Xiang was so angry that he laughed. What? You think I don't dare to teach you a lesson just because you are a woman? Damn, who the hell thinks that they are a woman? You better be more serious. Don't. Sister Chinyu, calm down. Chinyu, calm down. Jiang Yage hurriedly pulled him back, but Chen Guang didn't dare to break free, for fear that he would hurt Jiang Yage. Brother Xiang didn't know that he had said something wrong and poked a hornet's nest. Instead, his eyes fell on Jiang Yage. The lighting in the corridor was poor, and Jiang Yage and Jin Shuriwei kept hiding their faces, so he couldn't see them clearly. At this moment, Jiang Yage was hugging Chen Guang tightly from behind and accidentally exposed her face to the light coming from the corridor. Finally, Brother Xiang and the rest could see her face clearly. No one knew who was the first to shout out. Jiang Yage. Oh my god. The other one also looks a bit like Jin Shuriwei. We actually met a celebrity here. Celebrity? So what if she's a celebrity? Do you think a celebrity can just puke all over me and then leave? When ordinary people saw a celebrity, their first reaction was surprise. Their second reaction was to ask for an autograph and a photo. Brother Xiang's reaction was a little different from ordinary people. He licked his lips, and there was a hint of lust in his eyes. It was a cliché again. Alcohol makes people brave. He was not a good guy to begin with, and now he was 60% drunk and 40% angry. He felt that he had something on the celebrity, so he couldn't let go of such a good opportunity. Then what do you want? Chen Guang was held back by Jiang Yage. His pair of sharp eyebrows that Jiang Yage had drawn were raised, and he looked at Brother Xiang coldly. Brother Xiang looked at Chen Guang again and smacked his lips. The friends of a celebrity are really different. They are also so beautiful. Forget it. I, Xiang Yangming, am a respected figure in the 5 capitals. How about this? The 3 of you accompany us to the private room over there for a drink, and then each of you sing a song. Then, we'll let this matter go. As Xiang Yangming said that, he looked at Chen Guang and Jiang Yage and Jin Shuriwei behind him. Although he said that it was easy for them to drink a glass of wine and sing a song, if they really entered his private room, those delicate girls would not have the final say. As an insider, Chen Guang knew what this guy was thinking as soon as he saw his eyes. He sighed and slowly pulled Jiang Yage's hand down. Don't stop me. I can't let this matter go. Jiang Yage was hesitant. She was also very unhappy with Xiang Yangming, but she felt that Jin Shuriwei was in the wrong in the first place. There were too many people in this place, so she still wanted to make the big thing small and the small thing small. Xiang Yangming's followers also understood what their master meant. Although they felt that it was a little inappropriate, they also started to make a fuss. That's right. Can a celebrity bully others? Even a celebrity has to be reasonable. Since it's a matter of drinking, let's settle it on the table. We won't go overboard. Chen Guang was very annoyed and turned around to glare at them. Forget it. I've given you some color, and you're starting a dye shop? I'm not going to apologize to you today. What are you going to do? When he heard this, he felt so uncomfortable and wanted to die. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that there would come a day when I would call myself an old lady in my lifetime. My heart is in so much pain. D*MN. Beat this pretentious B*TCH. Xiang Yangming was stunned for a moment before he went berserk. He raised his hand and threw a punch at Chen Guang's face. Jiang Yage was afraid that Chen Guang would fight back, so she hugged him tightly and tried to pull him back. She was not afraid that Chen Guang would be hit. Xiang Yangming's followers were the same. They stepped out from both sides. Everyone was drunk. Who was afraid of who? Young Master Xiang had never been afraid of anything in the 5 capitals. A strong dragon cannot suppress a snake in its own territory. At this moment, the door of the private room behind Xiang Yangming, which was the room where Lin Jingwei and Bai Hua were, suddenly opened. Lin Jingwei was pulling at the back desperately. Brother Bai, don't. A white shadow rushed out from the room like a tiger. Bai Hua's eyes were bloodshot. He roared and broke free from Lin Jingwei's control. He held a Carlsberg bottle in his hand and jumped up. F*CKU. You're asking for it. He came out too suddenly, and his attack was too fast and too fierce. The security guard who had just arrived was stunned. The bottle made a full arc in the air and landed on the back of Xiang Yangming's head. Bam! This time it was a headshot. Chapter 1001. What gentlemanly demeanor! What natural and unrestrained manner! It was all gone. At this moment, Bai Hua's mind was completely blank. The moment he opened the door and saw the man waving his fist at Chun Yu, he had lost all consciousness. He didn't care about anything and forgot his identity. No one would believe that the young vice president of Tianjin Energy, a rising superstar in the domestic financial industry, who became famous at a young age but had the demeanor of a general, was the first financial prince of Huaxia, a super-eligible bachelor, handsome and elegant CEO Bai. He was actually jealous of someone in a KTV club and cracked open the other party's head with a raise of his hand. In the end, Xiang Yangming's fist didn't hit Chen Guang's face. After a miserable howl, he covered his head and fell to the ground. Blood flowed out from the gaps between his fingers. The air froze for a moment. Xiang Yangming's followers were completely panicked. After a short moment of silence, the passageway was in complete chaos. F*CK your mother. F*CK him. Beat him up. Beat him to death. Avenge Brother Xiang. Brother Xiang, calm down. Calm down. Brother Xiang, what's wrong? Are you okay? Xiang Yangming's followers shouted and turned around to find trouble with Bai Hua. Although Bai Hua was a young master that relied on his brain to make a living, he had trained his body regularly, so he could take a beating. Relying on the courage brought by the alcohol, he grabbed onto his head with one hand and brandished the broken bottle in the other like a machete. He roared as he charged towards Chen Guang like a mad bull, breaking through the crowd and making his way towards Chen Guang. When he stood up, there were countless footprints on his white suit. His face had also been punched a few times. He looked very embarrassed. Blood was oozing out of the corner of his mouth. His lips were probably cracked. As for the hand that was holding the broken bottle, it was also stained with blood. It was unknown whether it was Xiang Yangming's, or if he had cut someone's hand when he rushed over, or if his fingers had accidentally touched the glass. Chun, Miss Chen Yu, don't be afraid. I'm here. Bai Hua grinned at the dumbfounded Chen Guang, then turned around and waved his arms wildly. Come, who dares to come up? Do you know who I am? I am Bai Hua. I'm the vice president of Skyline Energy, Bai Hua. Bai Hua waved his hand so fiercely that the bottle in his hand almost scratched Lin Jingwei, who had rushed in behind him. Brother Xiao Bai, are you drunk? Lin Jingwei was having a headache. Of course, he knew what Chen Guang was capable of. In fact, he had wanted to stay in a room with Bai Hua and watch Xin Yu act tough. However, things didn't go according to his wishes. He had let Bai Hua rush out while he was distracted, and in the blink of an eye, the situation had reached a point where it couldn't be resolved. Just as Lin Jingwei was roaring, someone kicked his lower back ruthlessly, and he fell forward with his back facing upwards. On the other side, Xiang Yangming was protected by two men and hid behind them. When he saw the blood on his hands, he roared hysterically and pointed at Bai Hua. Beat him to death. Don't be afraid. If someone dies, I'll take responsibility. Beat him to death. What Bai Hua? I've never heard of him. The underling supporting him was a little flustered. Brother Xiang, this is Xiang Yangming roared again. Damn it. So what if he's a celebrity? Aren't celebrities just high-class prostitutes? Although I lost an uncle, a skinny camel is still bigger than a horse. I don't believe that I can't even afford to offend a celebrity. Do it. With Xiang Yangming's assurance, his underlings became more courageous. One of them, who looked particularly sturdy, finally saw the opportunity and grabbed Bai Hua's right hand that was holding the bottle. He twisted it hard. Bai Hua felt pain in his hand, and his fingers loosened. The bottle fell from his palm. The guy clenched his left fist and punched Bai Hua's face. The man was still mumbling, "White birch? Who the F*CK knows who Bai Hua is? How dare you hurt Brother Xiang? If you don't break one of your arms and legs, don't even think about leaving 5 Jing." Bai Hua looked very powerful, but when it came to fighting, he only had a few punches and kicks. happened to be a match for Xiang Yangming's professional underlings. This kind of street fight looked fierce at first, but in the blink of an eye, it would be bad luck if the other party stabilized their footing. In the passageway behind Xiang Yangming's underlings, the club's security guards were still squeezing forward. Although they didn't know the identity of this Bai Hua. Since he could come with a celebrity, he was most likely not a small figure. However, young Master Xiang's family was a wealthy family in Jing, so they couldn't afford to offend him. He had bled in the club, so they had to give him an explanation. Thus, they pretended to charge forward, pretending to maintain order, but in reality, they did not actually make a move. Perhaps they would wait for Bai Hua to lose at least one of his arms or his face to bleed a little before they would actually try to maintain order. When a fight broke out in such a mixed place, as the landlord, the best thing to do was to find a balance. Otherwise, it would be hard for them to explain themselves in the future. Bai Hua looked at the fist that was getting closer and closer. There was a sharp pain in his hand, but he was drunk and felt less pain. Instead of being afraid, he was only worried about the 3 women behind him. He hated that he didn't bring any bodyguards with him today. Otherwise, this wouldn't have happened. He hated himself for being incompetent. If he and Lin Jingwei were completely defeated, the 3 women behind them would definitely suffer. He gritted his teeth and exerted all his strength, intending to break his right hand even if it was dislocated or even broken. His heart was filled with killing intent. As long as I don't die here today, I don't care what kind of background young Master Xiang has. I, Bai Hua, will do whatever it takes to make your whole family pay a price that you can't afford. Although he was the real first young master of China and the apple of the eyes of countless old men in Yanjing, because of his personal cultivation and character, he almost never used his status to act like a tyrant. Instead, he was kind to others. But this time, for the sake of his beloved woman, he decided to make an exception. He was going to kill. He even secretly regretted it. In this world, people don't respect you just because you're kind to others. If he had made the first move earlier, he wouldn't have been so low-key. He could have made a name for himself in the circle of the crown princes in China, which would be more in line with his identity. Who would dare to touch his people then? Lin Jingwei was still leaning forward, the sound of wind whistling behind his head. He knew that someone was holding something unknown in their hands, planning to give him a hard time from behind. But he wasn't nervous at this time. Instead, he looked helplessly at Chen Guang in front of him. In fact, from the moment when Bai Hua rushed out, he had already made eye contact with Chen Guang. He had been signaling Chen Guang with his eyes and shaking his head. He wanted to control the situation and not let it get out of hand. He was very clear about Chen Guang's methods. Once Chen Guang made a move, many of the people here would at least have their arms and legs broken. If they were unlucky, they might really die. Lin Jingwei and Jiang Yage had the same idea. He didn't want Chen Guang to make a move. But now, it seemed that he really couldn't. The situation was out of control. Sigh. A long sigh came from the mouth of Chun Yu, who was behind Bai Hua. Inexplicably, the originally noisy passageway became completely quiet in an instant. Time seemed to freeze at this moment. The fist of the strong man holding Bai Hua stopped about 0.5 centimeters in front of Bai Hua's nose. Bai Hua's hand, which was about to be forcibly broken by himself, also stopped. The joints on his shoulder fiercely bulged to the side, but stopped at the point where it was about to break. Behind Lin Jingwei's head, an iron chair stopped about 3 centimeters away from the back of his head. Xiang Yangming's finger, which was still pointing at Bai Hua, was quietly suspended in midair. The security guards who pretended to stop them, but were actually paying attention to the situation here, were still staring at them with wide eyes. Jiang Yage and Jin Shuriwei were still hiding behind Chen Guang, but Jiang Yage had already let go of Chen Guang's hand. She wanted to pass Chen Guang and rush forward to help Bai Hua, even though it was useless. Jin Shuriwei was a little further behind. She also wanted to rush forward with a pale face. But when Chun Yu sighed, they couldn't move. At this time, only the clock on the wall at the end of the aisle was still ticking. The second hand was moving forward bit by bit, proving that time had not really stopped. Infinite fear and confusion rose in the hearts of everyone except Jiang Yage, and Lin Jingwei. They felt as if their bodies had sunk into a quagmire, unable to move at all. Their limbs and bones had no strength at all, as if their blood had been sucked dry. Their bodies and skins seemed to be wrapped in a layer of steel armor, trapping them inside. "Hey, don't force me." Chen Guang sighed again and took a step forward. Jiang Yage, Jin Shuriwei, Bai Hua, and Lin Jingwei were the first to break free. Chen Guang didn't say much to the others. He stretched out his hand and threw Lin Jingwei and Bai Hua behind him. He turned around and shrugged indifferently. "All of you stand still. Stop messing around." After saying that, Chen Guang glared at Jiang Yage. "It's all your fault. You shouldn't have stopped me from the beginning. How could it have ended up like this?" At this time, he still had Chen Yu's voice. He had completely entered the personality of a cold goddess. When talking to Bai Hua, his tone had an unapproachable tone. When talking to Lin Jingwei, it was a little softer, but when talking to the cute Jiang Yage, it was inexplicably doting and reproachful. Jiang Yage stuck out her tongue mischievously. She pulled Lin Jingwei and Bai Hua aside and said, "I know I was wrong. I thought I could reason with them. If reason was really that easy, then the father and son wouldn't have died." Chapter 1002. As Chen Guang spoke, he raised his hand and placed it flat in front of the forehead of the brawny man who had previously pinched Bai Hua's arm. Chen Guang's fingers tightened, and then he flicked his fingernail on the man's forehead. It looked gentle, but in fact, it was as heavy as 1,000 pounds. The moment Chen Guang flicked his fingertip, the dust that was floating everywhere in the air and trapping the man instantly went out of control. The internal force that had stagnated the blood in the man's body was also withdrawn. As if hit by a heavy hammer, the man flew back at least 5 or 6 meters, knocking over a bunch of people along the way. Then he landed heavily on the stunned Xiang Yangming. Chen Guang did not stop there. He moved on to the next man and continued to flick their foreheads with his fingertip. Bang, 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 bang. It was like the sound of someone hitting a wall with a hammer. One after another, more and more people fell on Xiang Yangming, piling on him like a human pyramid. Finally, the last of Xiang Yangming's followers was piled on top of the pile of people. 7 or 8 people were piled up at least a meter high in the aisle. Xiang Yangming was almost out of breath, and only his head and most of his right palm were exposed. He was hit again and again, and there was a sharp pain in his ribs. At least 3 of his ribs were broken. However, this wasn't what terrified and despairing him the most. It was this tall woman who was stepping on his right hand with an indifferent expression. Then she stood on her heel and stepped on the fingers with her toes. "No, no, I beg you, don't." Xiang Yangming finally knew fear. No matter what kind of background the other party had, he could tell from the other party's inexplicable means that he had kicked an iron plate today, and it was the kind of iron plate made of alloy steel that made people despair. "Now you know to beg for mercy? Weren't you very arrogant just now? I heard that you want us to drink with you and sing for you." "No, no, I'm just kidding." "Kidding? Do you think I'm stupid?" "No, no. You're going to take responsibility if someone dies? Tell me, how are you going to take responsibility? Big sister, I beg you, don't do that." Xiang Yangming had never been so afraid of a person before. He finally understood that when he was under someone else's roof, he had to lower his head. "You stinking bitch, I'll let you be happy for now, but don't let me get the chance later." Xiang Yangming would never have thought that his begging for mercy would not work at all. Instead, it would only make Chen Guang angrier. Even though Chen Guang had played the role of a handsome tank, and he was already in character, the anger in his subconscious was even harder to control. He stepped harder on Xiang Yangming's finger. "Ouch, it hurts. My father is the chairman of Xiang Group, Xiang Wurong. I can compensate you, however much you want." Chen Guang frowned slightly. He was a little familiar with the name Xiang Wurong, but he couldn't remember where he had heard it. Finally, an old matter popped up from the depths of his mind. "What's your relationship with Xiang Guoming?" "Xiang Guoming from Xiang Family International." Xiang Yangming thought he had met an acquaintance of his uncle and was overjoyed. "Xiang Guoming is my uncle. They were on the same side. They were on the same side." Chen Guang suddenly understood. Because of Wang Ren and Su Lijing, Xiang Family International collapsed, and Xiang Guoming was put in prison and sentenced to death. Later, he had inquired about it and found out that Xiang Guoming's death sentence had been carried out. However, at that time, he had yet to ascend to the position of the director of the Directorate of Light, so his power was not monstrous. The higher-ups did not completely annihilate the Xiang family and only targeted Xiang Guoming. His brothers and sisters still retained a lot of economic strength. Xiang Family International changed from a multinational company to the current Xiang Group. The scale of the company was greatly reduced, but after all, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. The Xiang family could still be regarded as a wealthy family in the 5 capitals. We were on the same side. I didn't know Xiang Guoming, but he is not on the same side. I am. Oh no, my younger brother is Chen Guang. Do you understand? Xiang Yangming's eyes widened. The name Chen Guang was indeed a lingering nightmare for the Xiang family. They hated him to the bone, but feared him like a tiger. Xiang Guoming was just a little careless and got involved in the battle between Su Lijing and him. In the end, he ended up dying. In the eyes of the Xiang family, although Xiang Guoming was wrong, he did not deserve to die. Of course, they were not satisfied and wanted revenge, but they did not dare. When Xiang Guoming was thoroughly investigated, helping Su Lijing hire assassins to kill people was only one of the crimes. What really sentenced him to death were the other crimes he committed when he was making his fortune, and he was punished for all these crimes. The Xiang family decided to bear with it. After all, the most powerful uncle in the family had fallen. What else could they do? Continue to try to break a rock with an egg? After the incident, they could only hide from Chen Guang. But Xiang Yangming would never have guessed that this was a real sin. He might be able to dodge Chen Guang's attack, but he wouldn't be able to dodge it forever. He managed to dodge Chen Guang's attack, but he ended up bumping into his elder sister. Now it seemed that Chen Guang's identity as a commoner was just a cover. How could an ordinary family raise such a woman? Chen Guang had no background. This was the biggest scam of the century. Why am I so unlucky? Also, the people behind you are all Chen Guang's friends. Don't you know that? Xiang Yangming's mouth opened wider and wider. His drunkenness finally dissipated. The memory that he had deliberately ignored came back to him. Yes, Jin Shuriyue and Jiang Yage were Chen Guang's friends. So, today is your bad day. Crack. As soon as Chen Guang's voice fell, he exerted force on the tip of his foot. Xiang Yangming's fingers made a cracking sound. It was hard to tell if they were completely broken or cracked. In any case, the extreme pain made him lose consciousness. A heart-wrenching scream came from his mouth. When Chen Guang loosened his foot, Xiang Yangming's palm was completely deformed from the pressure. The attendants who were still on top of him all felt pain for him and felt their teeth ache. At this time, Lu Chao's security guards finally regained their mobility. They looked at each other, not knowing what to do. At this time, a loud noise came from the other end of the aisle. Lu Chao, who had brought his construction company here for a meeting, heard about the dispute and hurried over. Chen Guang loosened his grip on everyone, and the wall of people slid down. Almost everyone had a concussion, and almost everyone had broken bones. Xiang Yangming's injuries were the heaviest. He was squashed here and there, howling in pain. Lu Chao looked inside and saw Bai Hua, Jiang Yage, Jin Shuriyue, and Lin Jingwei in the crowd. There was also a tall woman with a cold face. Director Bai, are you okay? Miss Jean, Miss Jiang, Mr. Lin, I'm sorry I'm late. Are you all okay? Director Bai mouth. Oh my god, bastard. What kind of people are these? Tie them up. Bai Hua was beaten up in his own territory. Lu Chao broke out in cold sweat. Xiang Yangming was still screaming on the ground. His lackey struggled to sit up. Lu. Director Lu? This is Xiang Guorong's son. Xiang Guorong? Son? Lu Chao hesitated for a moment, then waved his hand. I don't care what son you are. You don't know how big a mess you've made. Xiang Yangming, right? Uncle Lu, I'm Xiang Yangming. Xiang Yangming saw that his savior had arrived. He endured the pain and said, It's me. Shut up. Who's your uncle? You better call your father, Xiang Guorong, and ask him to come over and apologize. Tell him that you beat up Tianjin Energies by Hua. He knows what to do. Xiang Yangming saw that Lu Chao had cut all ties with him. How could he not understand that he had not only offended Chen Guang's sister, but it seemed that the person who called himself Bai Hua really had a powerful background. But my hand! Xiang Yangming wanted to use his own miserable state to find some balance. But it was useless. Lu Chao turned around and spat on his face. Don't worry. If Director Bai doesn't calm down, you might have to break something else later. Lu Chao ignored him and turned to Chen Guang, Bai Hua, and the others. He nodded and bowed. Director Bai, it's all my fault. Oh no, it's my people's fault. They should have notified me the moment you arrived. If I had invited you to room number 1, this wouldn't have happened. Why don't we change places now? Then I won't have to see these useless people. Don't worry, I, Lu Chao, am responsible for what happened today. I will definitely give you an explanation. Jiang Yage saw that Chen Guang didn't say anything. She was worried that he was going to kill them all. Because of her, Chen Guang had already started a massacre in Baishui County. Although the father and son of the Bao family had their own reasons for seeking death, Jiang Yage didn't want Chen Guang to continue killing because of her and Jin Shuriwei. Although she didn't believe in karma, it wasn't good to kill people, especially with one's own hands. Jiang Yage thought of the wuxiao movies she had acted in before. There were such characters. Because of their reckless killing, they gradually sank into their inner demons. In the end, they went berserk and became a big devil that everyone in the pugilistic world wanted to kill. Now, Chen Guang was an authentic martial artist. Although Jiang Yage didn't know martial arts, she was also worried. So she quickly came out from the side and hugged Chen Guang's hand tightly in front of her chest. Then she tiptoed and whispered in Chen Guang's ear, all right, let's go. There's Chief Lu here to take care of things. This young guy knows how powerful he is. If it really doesn't work, I'll get Brother Bai to deal with him later. Don't mess around. Jin Shuriwei, who had a telepathic connection with Jiang Yage, also came over from the other side. She wasn't that familiar with Chen Yu, so her actions were relatively reserved. However, she still held onto Chen Guang's other hand. Solomon is right. We don't have to stay here. Everything was fine today. Sigh. Chen Guang looked at Lin Jingwei. Lin Jingwei understood and supported Bai Hua, who had sobered up quite a bit. He said in a low voice, let's go up first. Brother Bai, don't you have something to say to Chen Yu? If it was before, Bai Hua would have said something harsh to Xiang Yangming. But now, he couldn't open his mouth. He was very embarrassed. As a man, he didn't seem to be of any help. Instead, he was beaten up. His identity didn't matter when others didn't recognize him. In the end, it was because of Chen Yu that they didn't suffer. For a man, this was too shameful. If he said something harsh at this time, wouldn't it be like he was borrowing Chen Yu's power to intimidate others? Ow. Okay. Bai Hua lowered his head and sighed. Lu Chao called for Chen Guang and the others to go upstairs. Jiang Yage tightly held on to Chen Guang the whole time, looking like a helpless little bird. The incident was over, and Bai Hua and Lin Jingwei didn't suffer any big losses. Although it was a big deal, in Jiang Yage's eyes, it really wasn't a big deal. Ever since she and Jin Shuriwei were young, there had been countless rich second generations who had been punished for similar situations. She was used to it. After a few steps, she became playful again. She tightly clung to Chen Guang, and her hands were especially dishonest. She hugged his waist and pulled his hand to her waist. She crazily took advantage of him and crazily gave him sex. Seeing Jiang Yage's unreserved appearance, Jin Shuriwei wanted to say something but didn't. In the end, she didn't say anything. As for Chen Guang, he didn't have any self-control at this time. He was still in the identity that he had set for himself. It just so happened that Jiang Yage was a cute little beauty that matched Chen Yu's criteria for choosing a partner. Since he wanted Bai Hua to give up today, he might as well make him despair from now on. As for little Linzi, who knew the inside story, he would think of a way to trick him later. Therefore, Chen Guang's hand boldly placed on Jiang Yage's butt, pinching and touching it. Jiang Yage's body stiffened for a moment, and then became even softer. She almost buried her head in Chen Guang's chest. Bai Hua, who was walking to the side, secretly saw this scene and felt his heart ache. Chapter 1003. Before this, although he had always been rejected, he had never thought of giving up. Bai Hua never considered himself to be an arrogant person. His confidence was built on the achievements he had made since he was young, and it was not without roots. But this time, he was really in despair. In the past, he had heard some ordinary friends chatting and joking about how different genders could be in love. At that time, he had only thought of it as a joke on the internet. But when it really happened to him, it was quite hopeless. Today, his confidence was about to be destroyed. In front of Chun Yu, he had no sense of superiority, and he was even inferior to an ordinary person. Although she had returned to start her own business, it proved that she might also value money, but what she valued was the money and value created by herself and not other people's money. Compared to money and power, she wanted to realize the value of her life through her own efforts. Otherwise, no one would have been able to resist the temptation of the position of senior consultant of Tianjin Energy. Extremely high power, a high salary, and access to all the top figures in the domestic business world. This was a position that could save people 20 years of detours, and it would also receive her full support. But she was not tempted at all. She did not even bat an eyelid, as she completely rejected it. Until now, Bai Hua had not found out what Chun Yu was doing through any channels. With his influence in the Chinese business world, this was almost impossible. Then there was only one explanation. Chun Yu was still doing something unknown. Perhaps she had set up an unknown small company, or she was holding a small position in another company. She was really too special, too unique, too different. She had a perfect face, an impeccable temperament, and a strong heart that was absolutely pure and unmoved by external things. She was like a snow lotus on an iceberg that stood proudly at the top of a mountain. She would not easily stop for any roadside scenery. She would only care about what she wanted to care about, and she would only walk along the path that she wanted to live. She had a high level of intelligence and could easily learn a small foreign language like Arabic more thoroughly than the well-known professors in the country. She also had incredible skills and was even stronger than those martial artists that he had heard about from his elders. She was so perfect that it would only make people feel inferior. Wait, I should have thought of this earlier. She was Chen Guang's older sister. Although Chen Guang's personality was very easygoing, no one could deny his incredible talent. The guy seemed to be invincible in everything he did. It was even said that he had become the undisputed #1 expert in martial arts. How could his sister, who was born from the same womb as him, be an ordinary person? Although the personalities of the siblings were as different as heaven and earth, the genes in their bones should be the same. White birch in her eyes. Perhaps it was just a pile of useless mud mixed in the secular world. Bai Hua, who was full of thoughts, walked slower and slower. Unknowingly, he fell behind. He raised his head and looked straight ahead. Chun Yu and Jiang Yage were acting more and more intimately. He gently clutched his chest, feeling as if there was a stone weighing 1,000 kilograms inside. His legs felt as heavy as lead, and his breathing became heavy. It was as if someone had lit a fire in his lungs. He even wanted to turn around and run away from this place. He tried everything he could think of, and finally, he saw her. But when this person really stood in front of him, he realized that it was not a happy thing. The closer one was to hope, the easier it was to feel despair. Just like a prisoner who had been sentenced to death. Since he had no hope of living, he always hoped that the death sentence would be carried out as soon as possible. But when he really faced the black muzzle of a gun, even the most vicious criminal would instantly feel great fear. Lin Jingwei noticed Bai Hua's abnormality and quietly slowed down. He followed beside him and supported him a little. Although Chang Guang's back was facing this direction, under the cover of the true martial divine technique, all the minute changes around him could be seen by the mind's eye. He also knew Bai Hua's abnormality. Things had turned out this way, and he couldn't say that he was completely at ease. After all, he owed Bai Hua a lot, but there would never be an answer to this kind of thing. As the saying goes, a short pain is better than a long one. There was no point in continuing to dawdle, so he might as well give him a quick death. Everyone moved to the #1 private room, which had already been arranged by Lu Chao to be properly tidied up. Bai Hua deliberately distanced himself from Chun Yu, Jiang Yage, and Jin Shuriwei and sat far away in a corner. He didn't say a word, nor did he have the mood to order songs. It was as if he had put on a layer of black coat, covering his whole body. Lin Jingwei sat beside him, not knowing how to comfort him. He felt that there was no need for him to do this. Seeing Bai Hua sinking deeper and deeper, Lin Jingwei secretly tried to dissuade him or comfort him in various ways. There were plenty of fish in the sea, so why did you have to be so infatuated? But it was useless. No matter what he said, it was useless. Even when Lin Jingwei tried to greet some of his fair-weather friends in Beijing, asking them to think of ways to bring Bai Hua into contact with some of the so-called socialites, wanting to lead Bai Hua astray, it was useless. Because of this matter, many of the second and third generations in Beijing were blacklisted by Bai Hua. Lin Jingwei also offended many people, causing many complaints. If he wasn't Lin Jingwei, he would have been dragged out and chopped into pieces. As the days passed, Bai Hua sank deeper and deeper, and Lin Jingwei didn't dare to be honest with him. In fact, he felt even more guilty than Chen Guang, and the pressure was even greater. He felt that he was the main culprit. Lin Jingwei also knew that there was no problem with Chen Guang's decision, and he couldn't let things continue like this. Even if it was painful, he had to face it. Lin Jingwei didn't dare to imagine what would happen if Bai Hua found out that Chun Yu was Chen Guang in disguise. This would definitely destroy Brother Xiao completely. He might even go crazy. Sigh. I hope Brother Guang can use his last knife to deal with this matter. If it was just being rejected to the point of despair, based on his understanding of Brother Bai Hua's character, he could still take the blow. He was much stronger than ordinary people, and he was a responsible man who could shoulder the responsibility. There were so many second and third generations in China, but Bai Hua was the only one. He knew better than anyone else how high the expectations of the elders were for him. If everything went smoothly, the probability of him carrying the country on his shoulders in 30 to 40 years was no less than 30%. He had to be more mature than his peers, and he had far more hopes than the other second and third generations. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Who is it? Lin Jingwei got up and opened the door. Lu Chao stood outside and smiled. Mr. Lin, is Boss Bai here? I'm here, Boss Lu. Bai Hua slowly got up in the dark and replied in a very calm tone. Only Lin Jingwei, who had grown up with him and knew him very well, knew that he was actually crying. Lu Chao looked in Bai Hua's direction, but because the light was dim, he couldn't see his expression clearly. He could only say tentatively, Boss Bai, that Xiang Group's Xiang Guorong wants to pay a visit to you. Bai Hua waved his hand. No need, let him go. Lu Chao's body trembled slightly. He knew what the words, let him go, meant. Bai Hua had no intention of forgiving anyone, nor would he accept anyone's apology. This seemingly calm statement hid a torrential rage behind it. This made people despair more than any threat. Lu Chao, who had been on the battlefield for a long time, could smell the faint scent of blood in the air. Today's incident was Xiang Yangming's own fault. He had already paid the price of broken bones and broken hands, but it was obvious that this wasn't over. Even if Lu Chao and Xiang Guorong didn't have a deep friendship, he couldn't help but feel a faint sense of sympathy. The Xiang family of Dechuan had been defeated twice in the past year. This time, it was really over. Okay, Boss Bai, I understand. Lu Chao responded and then gently closed the door. He walked out for a long time before he quietly winked at the bodyguard behind him and said in a low voice, Stop them. Boss Bai doesn't want to see them. Arrange some people to protect Boss Bai when they leave. The bodyguard nodded heavily. I understand. Chen Guang, who had been pretending to be happy and singing with Jiang Yage, was actually also quietly listening. Hearing Bai Hua's attitude, Chen Guang's mouth slightly twitched and he secretly shrugged. He also felt helpless. Although he didn't know Bai Hua very well, Chen Guang knew that he wasn't a petty person. But this time, the Xiang family was really unlucky. They had probably become Bai Hua's punching bag to vent his anger and grievances. He needed an outlet for his emotions. Forget it, this was also good. Just look at Xiang Yangming. and Xiang Wuming's behavior. The Xiang family wasn't good people to begin with, so they couldn't let Bai Hua suffocate to death. There was no harm in letting him vent his frustrations. If the Xiang family hadn't done evil, they probably wouldn't be in this situation today. Flies don't bite seamless eggs. It was destined that they would end up like the father and son. However, they were probably a little luckier than the father and son. At least they wouldn't be buried in the wilderness. At this moment, Bai Hua picked up the glass in front of him. This time, it wasn't filled with beer, but iced fruit juice. He drained it in one gulp, raised his neck slightly, took a deep breath, and walked over to Chen Guang. Chen Yu looked back at him. "Are you sober?" Bai Hua nodded. "Yes, I'm awake." Jin Shiyue's finger gently tapped on the touchscreen, and the music in the room quieted down. "It's good that you're awake. I heard from my brother that you wanted to see me no matter what." Chen Guang let go of Jiang Ye's hand, then stood up and stretched. He looked at Bai Hua, who was about the same size as him. Bai Hua hid his right hand behind his back and pinched his thigh. "Miss Chen Yu, I'm very sorry for causing you trouble. There's nothing to be sorry about. I was planning to see Solomon today. If it was just your request, I didn't think it was necessary for me to come. I think I've already expressed my attitude very clearly." Bai Hua's body trembled slightly. He lowered his head. There was no longer the killing intent he had when he spoke to Lu Chao. Instead, there was only infinite loneliness. Now that he thought about it carefully, ever since he met Chen Yu, it had always been his own wishful thinking. He felt that he was a proud son of heaven, and he was also hot-blooded. No matter how cold she appeared to be at that time, her sincerity was always able to move metal and stone. He didn't think that when it came to matters of the heart, there was no such thing as reason. Having feelings was having feelings. If he didn't have feelings, even if he lowered his voice and cried bitterly like in the TV series, it was just asking for trouble. Moreover, although he was a proud son of heaven, the other party was the elder sister of a monster like Chen Guang. Considering the strength and overbearingness she showed today, she should be on the same level as Chen Guang, a goddess hanging high above the ninth heaven. In the end, I'm just a mortal. I'm not worthy of her. I understand. It's good that you understand. My immoral little brother should have already told you. As you can see, I like girls, especially girls like Grace." As he said this, Chen Guang reached out again and pulled Jiang Ye into his arms. His hands seemed to be unscrupulously rubbing against her body through her clothes. Jiang Ye's mood was also very complicated, but Chen Guang's hands seemed to have some kind of magic power. It was obviously just scratching an itch through her boots, but it still made her heart rise and fall. She couldn't help but feel weak. As an insider, Jiang Ye also knew why Chen Guang was doing this. She also felt that she couldn't let Bai Hua continue like this. No matter who it was for, she felt that she had to help Chen Guang survive today's show. So, not only did she not resist, she even took a yard after taking an inch. Lin Jingwei was so scared by this scene that he almost cried. He didn't know that Jiang Ye was actually also an insider. He thought that Jiang Ye had really fallen under the charm of Chen Yu. Lin Jingwei thought to himself, "I have to say, Brother Guang's pa-pa-pa attacks just now, coupled with this guy's godly makeup that I don't know what he's wearing on his face, coupled with this guy's insane and invincible vocal mimicry skills, even I, a person who knows the truth, almost fell for it." If it wasn't for the fact that Brother Guang's cheap smile popping up in his head and his stomach turning upside down, Lin Jingwei felt that he might have fallen for this Chen Yu. Although Jiang Ye was a celebrity and a big shot, she was also a small woman. Although he felt that she had some feelings for Brother Guang, she didn't seem to show it clearly. Now, it seemed that she had secretly fallen in love with Chen Yu, the doppelganger of Brother Guang. It's all over? Why didn't I think of this? Is this the end of the world? Even if Brother Guang really stabbed Brother Bai Hua today, looking at Jiang Ye now, she would definitely be the next victim. Lin Jingwei quietly turned his head to look at Jin Shiyue. Another victim. He didn't know why, but he really wanted to rush up and stab Brother Guang to death with a knife in his hand. His real body had mesmerized Jin Shiyue, and his doppelganger had taken care of Jiang Ye. Did this guy really want to take all the beauties in his eyes? Bastard, beast, slut, envy, jealousy, hatred. Chapter 1004. Only Bai Hua and Jean Shuriwei were completely kept in the dark at this time. Jean Shuriwei was also dumbfounded. She didn't understand what was going on. In her opinion, although Chun Yu was valiant and could be regarded as a strange woman who could move a woman's heart, it was clear that Solomon liked, oh no, deeply loved Chen Guang. This is incredible. This is not the Solomon's ballad, I know it all. Jiang Ye's change of heart was too sudden, too violent, and Jean Shuriwei was not mentally prepared. If the protagonist wasn't Bai Hua and the atmosphere wasn't right at this time, Jean Shuriwei really wanted to pull Jiang Ye to the side and ask her, "What's wrong with you? Are you possessed?" Jean Shuriwei couldn't help but recall the scene when she first met Chun Yu. She also remembered that at that time, she had slightly frivolously praised Jiang Ye for being cute. At that time, she didn't feel anything unusual, but now that she thought about it, it was clear that she had taken a fancy to Solomon at that time. Alas, I should have reminded Solomon to guard against her. A woman's vigilance toward another woman is still too low. But at this time, Jean Shuriwei couldn't say anything. She could only quietly move closer to Jiang Ye and pinch her waist with her fingers, wanting her to restrain herself. Later, she would have to ask her what was going on. Jiang Ye knew what Jean Shuriwei meant. She could only say sorry in her heart and think of a way to explain it to Sister Shuriwei later. But this explanation wasn't very good. She couldn't say that Chun Yu was Chun Guang in disguise, could she? But if she admitted that the person she liked changed from Chun Guang to his sister, it didn't seem right. In this way, Sister Shuriwei would think that she had given up on Chun Guang, but in fact she had secretly rolled the sheets with Chun Guang. Wasn't this a bit too despicable? Jiang Ye's heart twitched, and she felt guilty again. Recently, she had done too many shameful things. Forget it. After today's matter is over, I'll first ask Chun Guang. If he doesn't object, I'll tell Shuriwei the truth about Chun Yu. She should be able to keep the secret. As for the fact that she had slept with Chun Guang, Jiang Ye had not decided whether to confess or not. She really did not have the courage. Even if she knew that there would be an explanation for this matter sooner or later, hiding it from Jean Shuriwei was not a solution. She could only live with the thought that one day was one day at a time. Otherwise, should I secretly find a chance to scam Sister Shuriwei? I'll drug Chen Guang, Sister Shuriwei, and Chen Guang, and then throw them into a room? Let them cook the rice? Jiang Ye maintained her current soft state while letting her imagination run wild in her mind. She inexplicably came up with this bewitched idea. Not to mention, she felt that this idea was really great. We agreed on a fair competition, but I accidentally took a step forward and pulled Sister Shuriwei into a trench. Isn't that fine? Jiang Ye's heart immediately calmed down. She had completely forgotten that with Chun Guang's profound skills, where would she find a drug that could knock him down? From the beginning to the end, Bai Hua, who was standing opposite Chen Guang, quietly watched this scene. He was angry in his heart, but he understood that he actually did not have the qualifications to roar at the other party. Chun Yu did not do anything wrong. Everyone was free to choose the life they wanted. Chun Yu did not owe him any favors, but he owed her. If she hadn't spoken up for him back then, he would have been tricked when he was dealing with the project in Middle East. Tianjin Energy might have lost tens of billions of dollars, and that incident would have become a lingering stain on his glorious resume. Even today, she was the one who lent a helping hand. No matter how powerful she was, even if she could annihilate the entire Xiang family, as long as Lu Chao was late, she would not be able to avoid a beating. What's more, if it wasn't for Chun Yu's ability with that Xiang Yangming's madness at that time, he might have broken his arms and legs, or even died on the spot. If he died, everything would be for naught. What would be the end of the Xiang family, and what would be the point? Looking at it this way, he had used the alcohol to act like a hero, but in fact, he owed her a favor. I simply have no right to accuse her of anything wrong. Today, I forced myself to threaten Chen Guang and demanded an answer from her. Now that she is here, the answer has been given to me. What else can I say? The greatest sorrow in the world is that you don't even have the right to be angry. Bai Hua clenched his fists tightly, and his nose felt sour, but he said slowly and clearly, Okay, I understand. It's good that you understand. I'll emphasize to you one last time that I like women. Don't bother me in the future, and don't bother Qingguang because of my matters. You're a good person, and you should have your own life. As Chen Guang spoke, he patted Jiang Ye's shoulder and said, "If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. I'll come and find you another day. I'll see you out." Jiang Ye followed Chen Guang out. The two struggled for a while. Chen Guang first hid in the women's restroom, while Jiang Ye secretly took out the things from the broken bag room below. Then, she ran to the women's restroom and personally helped Chen Guang remove his makeup. On the other side, after Chen Yu left, Lin Jingwei patted Bai Hua's shoulder and said, "Little brother Bai, don't be sad. Really, you shouldn't spend your energy on this kind of thing. The elders are counting on you." Bai Hua smiled bitterly and said, "I understand, but I just can't control myself." Then, Bai Hua looked up at Jean Shuriyue and forced a smile and said, "I'm sorry." Shuriyue saw a joke. Jean Shuriyue was also a little distracted and said, "No, it's nothing. I think Brother Bai Hua is very brave, but I can't force you." Bai Hua nodded and said, "I understand. Don't worry, I won't be defeated so easily. From tomorrow onwards, I will pull myself together again." He reluctantly clenched his fists. Seeing that he seemed to have recovered a little, Lin Jingwei's heart was relieved. Thank God it's over. This **T incident is finally over. I'm so happy that you think so. Come, drink some green tea to sober up. Lin Jingwei tried to liven up the atmosphere. Bai Hua took the cup from his hand and sighed again. Alas, if there is a next life, I really want to reincarnate as a woman. The green tea in Lin Jingwei's mouth sprayed all over the wall. You walked down my ass. Can you give me a way out? Not long after, Jiang Ye came back alone. Chen Guang changed his clothes and quietly hid outside the club. There was a time difference between the two. "Solomon, you're back." Jean Shuriyue saw this and wanted to pull her aside to say something. Lin Jingwei was also anxious, but with Bai Hua here, he couldn't blatantly tell Jiang Ye that she can't be with Chen Yu. That must be Brother Guang himself, right? Instead, Bai Hua opened his mouth and asked, "Solomon, when did you and Miss Chen Yu start?" Jiang Ye's eyes quietly rolled, "Just now." Huh? Bai Hua, Jean Shuriyue, and Lin Jingwei were all dumbfounded. What kind of damned answer was that? Although you're usually carefree, you don't seem like such a casual person. Could it be that you're not human when you're casual? Jiang Ye embarrassedly squeezed her hands. Actually, I don't know what's wrong with me. It's like I'm possessed. I stand next to her, and I can't control myself. I really didn't expect a woman to be so handsome. Jiang Ye rubbed her hands, looking particularly embarrassed, and then said, "In fact, I also think it's strange, but I can't help it. AI, Brother Bai Hua, I'm sorry. In fact, I think Sister Chen you might be a playboy. Maybe a girl like me is her taste. Otherwise, I'll find a way to keep a distance from her, but AI. Jiang Ye's answer almost answered all the questions that Bai Hua, Lin Jingwei, and Jean Shuriyue had. As for how to confess Chan Yu's identity to Jean Shuriyue later, it was temporarily put to the back of his mind. Tonight, he would safely get through this. While they were chatting, Chen Guang pushed the door open and came in. "What are you talking about?" Jean Shuriyue suddenly raised her voice. "Ha ha ha ha. No, nothing. Chen Guang, where did you go?" As she spoke, she tightly grabbed Jiang Ye, not letting her speak again. Chen Guang suspiciously looked at Jean Shuriyue. "I didn't go anywhere. My sister told me to hide far away, so I just wandered around outside." Lin Jingwei also came over. "Brother Guang, it's good that you're back. Your sister just fought with someone." As he spoke, he winked at Chen Guang. Chen Guang didn't really understand, so he played along with him. "Who had the guts to challenge my sister? No one died, right?" Bai Hua, who was next to him, said faintly, "No one died tonight, but I don't know if they'll be dead tomorrow. Don't worry about this. I'll deal with it tomorrow." Jiang Ye didn't know whether to laugh or cry when she saw Jean Shuriyue and Lin Jingwei's behavior. She knew that Jean Shuriyue didn't want Chen Guang to know that she had fallen in love with someone else. She didn't want Chen Guang to have a bad impression of her. As for Lin Jingwei, Jiang Yage had the same thoughts. Jiang Yage knew that Lin Jingwei didn't know that she already knew, but she didn't know that Lin Jingwei knew about Chen Yu's real identity. As for Lin Jingwei, he didn't know that Jiang Yage already knew about Chen Guang's real identity. He said this because he had to pretend that he didn't know anything. This was human nature, and it was time to cover for Jiang Yage. At the very least, he couldn't let Jin Shuriyue and Bai Hua think that he didn't care about the fact that Jiang Yage was infatuated with Chen Yu. Messy, this room was really messy. Even Chen Guang, who knew everything, was almost dizzy from the situation. After coming in, he didn't dare to speak carelessly and could only chuckle. Fortunately, he didn't have to be tortured for long. They gradually sobered up, and Bai Hua didn't have the mood to stay any longer. Not long after, everyone decided to leave. Jin Shuriyue called Zhou Yin to bring someone to pick them up, and the two women returned to the hotel to rest. Bai Hua also called his bodyguards over and arranged for one of them to drive Chen Guang and Lin Jingwei back to school, while he himself returned to the Silver Bull Hotel. On the other side, Bai Hua's bodyguards parked Chen Guang's car in the parking lot of Gokyo University, and after saying goodbye, they left. After Chen Guang and Lin Jingwei left, they all let out a sigh of relief. "I'm so tired." Lin Jingwei looked up to the sky and roared. Chen Guang hammered his chest with his fist. "You still have the face to say that? Do you know how miserable I was for you?" Lin Jingwei stared back at him. "You still have the face to say that? Are you even human? When you were a man, you charmed Jin Shuriyue, and when you were a woman, you flirted with Jiang Yage. Are you a celestial being? People always say that you're not easy to deal with, but you're practically a walking flamethrower. Burn wherever you go." Chen Guang was stunned at first. Damn it, I can't tell this guy that Jiang Yage knows everything. Otherwise, how can Jiang Yage face the world? It's a mess too messy. Sigh, it's a long story. In the future, I might have to write a 100,000-word thesis to explain it slowly. It's too complicated, really too complicated. Forget it. Anyway, it's your own business. Brother, good luck. I don't even know how you survived. If it were me, I would be so annoyed to death by so many women. Anyway, Brother Bai Hua won't bother you with Chen Yu's matter anymore. Chen Guang was overjoyed. Did he completely give up? Lin Jingwei shook his head. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Can't you try harder? He looked like he didn't have any more ideas, but then he said something. What did he say? He said if there's a next life, he wants to be a woman. A wild. Brother Guang, why do you look like you're about to die? Is it possible that there's a next life? Can people like you, who have reached the realm of martial arts, see what happened in your previous life? No, there's definitely no next life. Don't think about this kind of lies. But what kind of existence is a human soul? Is it material or virtual? Was the life form of energy real? If a human soul leaves the body, will it become a material life? Once the energy finds a carrier, does that mean it will turn from an energy body into a physical life form? Get lost. Shut up. A person's reincarnation, the cycle of life, is it a continuous cycle of material and energy, just like the cycle of water on Earth? Water, steam, rain? Chen Guang kicked Lin Jingwei's, but if you keep talking nonsense, I'll send you to the mental hospital. Chen Guang decisively cut off Lin Jingwei's thoughts. The two of them joked and joked all the way back to the dormitory, discussing some rather profound philosophical questions. When Chen Guang slept in exhaustion, he was finally able to free himself from it. The next morning, Xiong Er's deafening roar echoed through the whole Dormitory 7 of Gokyo University. Damn! My God! My seventh granduncle! Big news! Big news! Jiang Yage. She came out of the closet. Chen Guang, Lin Jingwei, and Bai Nyangzi all sat up straight in bed. Bai Nyangzi was still rubbing his eyes, while Chen Guang and Lin Jingwei looked at Xiong Er with ashen faces. What? I dare you to say it again. Xiong Er looked at Chen Guang and the others with a sad face, then waved his phone screen in front of them. On it was the hot news on today's front page app. Jiang Yage, she came out of the closet. Chen Guang had better eyesight, so he saw everything clearly. On Xiong-er's phone was a slightly blurry and dim photo, but the facial features were distinguishable. Then, Xiong-er pointed at the tall woman who was hugging Jiang Yage and gritted his teeth. "Brother Guang, who is this woman? She stole your business. Chop her to death. Kill her all at once." Chen Guang slapped himself. He was addicted to acting cool yesterday, so he didn't check. He must have accidentally taken a photo of Lu Chao Club staff when he was taking advantage of Jiang Yage in the passageway after beating someone up. He didn't know who had the guts to do that. But this wasn't important. It wasn't important anymore. Things were about to blow up. "Brother Guang, you flirted with this woman. Jiang Yage is our goddess, and she's your old friend. You can't watch her fall into the fire pit." Xiong-er was still howling. Chen Guang looked at him with a dark expression. Lin Jingwei also couldn't speak for a long time. "Xiong-er, your idea is great. You want Brother Guang to be self-sufficient." Bai Nyangzi also pounced on Xiong-er's bed and snatched the phone. He clicked his tongue and said, "Oh my God, this handsome tea is so beautiful, and this figure is amazing. Why does it look so familiar? Forget it. She's too beautiful. I can't take it anymore. It's still early in the morning. Let me take a swipe to calm myself." Lin Jingwei's face was ashen, and he screamed, "Bai Nyangzi, don't. Please don't." As he shouted, he jumped on a bramble's bed with his head in the air. Chen Guang looked at this scene and clutched his chest tightly. "Ouch, my heart hurts. I can't take it anymore. I might become the first martial sage to die of a heart attack." Chapter 1005. In the dormitory, Chen Guang and Lin Jingwei tied Bai Nyangzi up like a rice dumpling and dragged him to the toilet and poured cold water on him for a full 5 minutes before they finally subdued this idiot who was completely obsessed with sperm. Bai Nyangzi didn't understand why Chen Guang and Lin Jingwei were doing this. He felt that it was simply inexplicable. He thought to himself, "Of course I understand the principle of not deceiving a friend's wife. I'm not going to do bad things to Jiang Yage. I'm going to make a move on this handsome T who tried to steal Brother Guang's woman. What are you guys doing? Why the hell? You guys are very strange. Last semester, when everyone was watching the film together, didn't you guys have a good time in your own bed after you were done? Did you guys take the wrong medicine today?" Poor Bai Fan shivered all over after being drenched in cold water. Then, he wailed and crawled in the bed, cursing, "Are you two crazy? If it wasn't for the fact that I can't beat you, I'd fight it out with you." Chen Guang and Lin Jingwei looked at each other and let out a long sigh of relief. No matter what, at least they prevented the most terrible thing from happening. At the thought of that scene, Bai Nyangzi looked at the photo of Chen Guang with blurred eyes and his body trembled violently. Then Bio really goosebumps all over his body. Even the end of the world was nothing more than this. On the other side, Xiong-er had already gotten out of bed and was frantically searching for news on the internet. "It's blown up, it's all blown up." On Weibo, in the forum, in Tieba, today's front page, Daily Morning Post, Penguin News. "My God, it's flooded. It's completely flooded, my brother." The second photo is out, and it's clearer than the first one. Mother Kerr, this lesbian sister is too much. She's obviously a girl, and so beautiful. Even I think she's so handsome. No wonder Jiang Yage fell for it. The third photo is also out. Oh my God, her hand was on Jiang Yage's butt. Don't anyone pull me. I'm going to hack this damned woman to death. Chen Guang had no idea how he managed to resist the urge to strangle Xiong-er. Most probably, it was Lin Jingwei's cross-lock that had taken effect. The first photo was posted about half an hour before he woke up. The second photo and the first photo were about 30 minutes apart. 5 minutes later, the third photo was posted. Obviously, the informant was very professional. First, they used the first picture to stir up the heat, and then used the title of Jiang Yage Comes Out of the Closet in the morning to wake up the people who would care about this kind of entertainment super gossip from their sleep, so that more and more people would stay in front of their computers or mobile phones, waiting for the next news. 30 minutes was enough for a lot of the media people to wake up and enter combat mode. Although the first-hand information had been snatched away, they could still catch up with the hot topic and write their own comments. As for the gossipy onlookers, They could also wake up one by one. Then, they would wash their faces and sit on their way to work, refreshing the app over and over again, waiting for the next news. At this time, the second photo appeared. Just as people were digesting the shock brought by the second photo, the third one followed. These events were closely linked to each other, causing the impact of the entire incident to rapidly rise from nothing to the peak within an hour from 7 to 8 in the morning. The informant was also very particular about this time period. The previous scandals about Jiang Yage and Jin Shuriwei, even if they were fabricated and no one would believe them, will be quickly suppressed by the mysterious force. But between 7 to 8 in the morning, it was the last hour between the night shift and the morning shift. They didn't have enough manpower. Even if they reacted quickly, it was difficult for them to resist such explosive news. The second and third photos that followed would make the mysterious force even more exhausted. When the influence of this matter on the internet reached a climax, even if the mysterious power went all out during the day, it might not be able to suppress it easily. It would take at least 1 or 2 days for this news to disappear. By that time, the 3 photos would have been in the eyes of all the netizens, and their existence could no longer be covered up. Chen Guang couldn't stay in the dormitory anymore. He didn't need to look carefully to know how explosive this matter would be if it continued to ferment. Under the protection of the elders, Jiang Yage and Jin Shuriwei had always been good girls with a positive image. In the end, they came out of the closet. It was unknown how many people's eyeballs would explode. Chen Guang didn't need to think to know that Jiang Yage was being roared at by the bald old man at this moment. She was a bit of a scapegoat. In fact, she was innocent. I can guarantee with my integrity that there is absolutely no problem with her sexual orientation. At this time, it didn't matter who the informant was, what his purpose was, or who secretly took the photos and sent them to the informant yesterday. The most important thing now was how to deal with it and try to eliminate the influence of this matter so that Jiang Yage wouldn't be hurt too badly. In addition, he had to call her first. She dragged him into this mess, so he should comfort her. He had been calling her since he went downstairs, but when he was about to walk to the cafeteria, there was always a busy tone. He didn't need to think to know that the bald old man must be busy. Chen Guang stomped his feet. It was useless to be anxious, so he simply ordered 8 big meat buns and 3 bowls of porridge from the cafeteria and sat down to eat. However, he didn't have a peaceful breakfast. Almost every time he took a bite of a bun, he had to send away 1 or 2 people who recognized him. Unlike in the past, most of the boys and girls who came to chat with him today said the same thing. Chen Guang, I heard that you were friends with Jiang Yage. Is it true that she came out of the closet? These people asked while waving their phones, and the 3 photos were on the screen. What could Chen Guang say? All he could say was, no comment, I'm not sure, I'm watching the news, I can't get through, the line is busy, please don't ask me. Let me eat first, okay? After finishing his breakfast with great difficulty, he fled from the cafeteria. He was also sweating profusely. In such a short time, everyone in the school was whispering to each other. Everyone knew that there were many places in the country that were exactly the same as the one in the school. Just as he was thinking about this, his phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was his father calling. Son, I heard that Jiang Yage came out of the closet. Is it true? That's impossible. Weren't you kept by her in the past? Why did she come out of the closet all of a sudden? Chen Guoli fired off a barrage of questions over the phone. Chen Guang did not expect his father to know. He sighed and said, Dad, it's not easy for me to explain this. Sigh. When Chen Guoli heard his lonely tone, he seemed to have guessed something. He stomped his feet and said, Hey, I understand now. Chen Guang was puzzled. What do you understand now, Dad? It's all my fault. What has it got to do with you? I told you that celebrities are hard to please. I told you to make up for it, but you didn't believe me. Now you know how powerful I am? What do I know now? Son, don't be discouraged. Although you may not be very satisfactory in that aspect, your face is still quite pleasing to look at. Don't be sad. There are plenty more fish in the sea. Oh yes, I'll make you another bowl of invincible rejuvenation soup. This time, you have to eat it obediently. Chen Guang finally understood. He understood everything. His father thought that he had squeezed Jiang Yage dry and could no longer satisfy her physical needs. That was why she changed her tastes and fell in love with women. If not for the fact that it was his own father on the other end, he would have scolded him. What the hell are you talking about? Your son has already made up for you into the best pile driver in history. Why are you still trying to make up for it? Thinking about how Sister Tang Ying was dragged into this pit. If I make up for it, I'll really have to change my name to Azura. Dad, just take a break. I'm begging you, okay? Forget it. I'm not talking to you anymore. I still have to make a call. Chen Guang hung up the phone as soon as he finished speaking. He was really afraid that he would go crazy from anger. He still couldn't get through to Jiang Yage's phone. Chen Guang had already jogged all the way to the parking lot. He was wondering if he should drive to the hotel where they had stayed the day before. Before he left, he scrolled through his phone again and was shocked by the new information that popped up on the screen. Why did she admit it so easily? Looking at Jiang Yage's newly updated Weibo, Chen Guang's mind was filled with a huge black question mark. Below her Weibo was a selfie. It was taken when she was about to remove her makeup yesterday. She put her head on his shoulder and showed off. She had censored the background of the women's restroom, but the big faces of Chun Yu and Jiang Yage were extremely clear in the camera. At that time, he was a little uncomfortable, so his expression was cold and reserved. However, Jiang Yage smiled very happily and sweetly. Above the photo, there was a very brief accompanying text. It was concise and comprehensive, and the meaning was clear. As everyone can see, yes, we are together. He looked at the time when the Weibo was updated. It was 30 seconds ago. Chen Guang refreshed the page again. In less than a minute, the number of comments below had already exceeded 5,000, and the number of forwards had already exceeded 8,000. Moreover, it was growing at a very frightening speed. Chen Guang's head was buzzing. He leaned back. What else could he say? How could he eliminate this influence? She had admitted it all. She had admitted in front of everyone in the world that she had come out of the closet. Big sister, you are really a little explosive. Back to last night. Jiang Yage and Jean Shuriwei returned to the hotel. Naturally, Jean Shuriwei couldn't avoid all kinds of questions. She asked her what was going on in her head. Why did she suddenly change her mind? And what exactly did she think about Chen Guang and Chen Yunao? Let's not talk about the relationship between the two of them. You first fell in love with the younger brother, and then fell in love with the older sister. Isn't this causing conflict between the two of them? Jean Shuriwei was also persuading Jiang Yage, telling her to think clearly and tell her that there was no future between her and Chen Yu. Even if there were many people who liked Chen Guang, even if Chen Guang himself wasn't easy to deal with, it was better to continue pursuing him than to be with Chen Yu. At least Chen Guang could let you have a child, right? Jiang Yage had a guilty conscience in her heart. She dodged left and right and was really tired of defending. The more Jean Shuriwei persuaded her, the more ashamed Jiang Yage felt. She wanted to open her mouth and admit it a few times, but the words jumped into her throat and she forcefully swallowed them back in her stomach. At that time, she only thought, I will wait one more day, just one more day. When Sister Shuriwei lets this matter go a little easier, I will think of a way and slowly tell her. Otherwise, I will trick Chen Guang over tomorrow and find the medicine to let the two of them cook a meal. There were many things that only required determination when making a decision, but when it came to implementing it, it required great courage. In the end, she managed to escape from Jean Shuriwei's encirclement. The two girls even slept in separate rooms for a night. Chapter 1006. Jiang Yage just wanted to delay it, but when she opened her eyes early in the morning, she was also caught off guard by the overwhelming news on the internet. Before she came to her senses, Grandpa's phone call came in. Old Jiang scolded her harshly. The old man was so angry that he finally accepted the idea of finding a way to let his granddaughter hook up with Chen Guang. But this obedient granddaughter actually came out of the closet. This was the biggest stain in old Jiang's life. This not only made him lose face, but also the prestige of the Jiang family. This was ridiculous. Old Jiang still scolded Jiang Yage as before. For so many years, he had been disciplining Jiang Yage in this way. so she had developed a character of being tough on the outside but soft on the inside. She looked careless, but in fact, she was very afraid of the control of her family, which was the other extreme of Jean Shirue's family. Through the phone, Jiang Yage was also sprayed with saliva by old Jiang, and she felt very wronged. What do you know? You don't know anything. No matter what you say, I don't care what the relationship between Chun Yu and Chen Guang is. Anyway, you. Absolutely not. After scolding for a full half an hour, old Jiang panted heavily, put down this sentence, and then hung up the phone. Jiang Yage's eyes were full of tears. She felt so wronged. Jean Shirue, who had been listening to the phone call outside the door for more than half an hour, came in, sighed, sat on the bed, and gently pinched Jiang Yage's hand. Yage, don't cry. You know your grandpa has a sharp tongue, but a soft heart. Otherwise, let's not mention this first. Maybe he will forget it after a while. I won't persuade you. If you really like Chun Yu, we can slowly think a long-term plan. Jiang Yage gritted her teeth, looked up at Jean Shirue, and bowed her head heavily. Sister Shirue, I'm sorry. Jean Shirue was stunned. Why are you apologizing to me? Jiang Yage picked up her phone and typed on Weibo while saying, I'll explain it to you after I finish posting this Weibo. As a result, the Weibo post that Chen Guang was reading now appeared in her personal Weibo account. Ever since she was young, Jiang Yage had always been obedient to her grandfather. Her father didn't interfere much. There could only be one overbearing person in the family. Old Jiang was enough to make everyone feel suffocated. Although Jiang Yuanchao was arrogant in front of outsiders at home, he was still subdued by the old man. But this time, Jiang Yage didn't want to listen to her grandfather anymore. She even felt angry. Yes, Chun Yu was fake. She didn't exist. What I did with Chun Yu wasn't actually coming out of the closet because she was Chun Guang. But what right do you have to control me? Even if I have to come out of the closet, it's my freedom. After being scolded by old Jiang on the phone for more than half an hour, Jiang Yage didn't feel guilty. Instead, she felt wronged and angry. Her psychological changes were extremely complicated. If the thing with Chun Yu was true, she might be afraid and really feel that she had lost the face of her family. Deep down, she knew that it was all fake, but she was still scolded by the old man. She could only hold it in and couldn't tell the truth. So, of course, she became more and more angry. But she didn't dare to yell at the old man, so she could only listen to him on the phone. But the old man's voice was too loud, so she couldn't listen to him. When she hung up the phone, she thought about it again. The more she thought about it, the more wrong she felt. She was so angry that she posted the Weibo post. It was also the old man's fault for protecting Jiang Yage and Jean Shirue too much in the past. The two girls' Weibo accounts were usually in their hands, and they didn't hand them over to the people in the company. Otherwise, this kind of emergency public relations thing should have been filtered by Sister Zhou first, and then discussed at a meeting to see how to deal with it. Few artists could use such a violent way to deal with a storm like Jiang Yage. Didn't you say that I came out of the closet? Then I admitted it. Then what? What do you want? Grandpa, didn't you scold me? Didn't you say that I absolutely couldn't do it? Now I've done it, and I admit it directly. Let's see what you can do to me. Jean Shirue, who was sitting next to Jiang Yage, also held her mobile phone in her hand. She refreshed it and looked down, and her face changed. Yage, you're crazy. Didn't I say we should think about it in the long run? Delete it now. With that, Jean Shirue rushed up to grab Jiang Yage's mobile phone. Jiang Yage hid the mobile phone behind her back. I won't delete it. I won't delete it. No, it must be deleted. Jean Shirue was really angry and anxiously stamped her feet. What's wrong with you? Can't you be a little more mature? Let's not talk about your family. Later, you can slowly explain to your father and grandfather. You can always get over this hurdle. But what if Chen Guang saw it? What will you do? Are you really going to give up on him and be with his sister? Why are you so inconsiderate? Jiang Yage blankly looked at Jean Shirue, whose face was red with anxiety. She was stunned for a long time, and her nose became more and more sour. Of course, she understood what Jean Shirue was thinking. The opinions of other outsiders, and even the resistance from her family, were actually not the most important factors. Sister Shirue, She was afraid that she would lose Chun Guang. I really let Sister Shuriwa down. I lied to you for many years. I was too selfish. Once she realized this, the dissatisfaction and grievance in Jiang Ye's heart towards her grandfather disappeared in an instant. What was left was only shame and self-blame in front of Jean Shuriwa. Jean Shuriwa saw the tears in Jiang Ye's eyes and thought that her words were too heavy. So she sighed again, softened her tone, and sat down next to Jiang Ye. She grabbed her hand with both hands and gently patted the back of her hand. Yage, I'm not blaming you. I just don't want you to regret it in the future. Don't look at Chun Guang's careless appearance, but in fact, boys nowadays are very possessive. Even if you were just hot-headed and betrayed him for a short time, or even if the object of your affection is a woman, his sister, he will definitely have a knot in his heart. No matter what, isn't he the one you've always liked? Jean Shuriwa gently persuaded. Jiang Ye finally couldn't hold it in anymore. She threw herself into Jean Shuriwa's arms and burst into tears. Sister Shuriwa, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was really wrong. Jean Shuriwa thought that her advice was effective and continued to pat Jiang Ye's back. Well, it's good that you know you're wrong. Be good. Give me the phone. I'll help you delete it. Jiang Ye couldn't bear it anymore. She raised her head, her eyes were red, and her nose was running. Sister Shuriwa, actually, Chenyu is Chun Guang. Jean Shuriwa's hand, that was raised in the air, suddenly froze. This. What? Jiang Ye sat up straight and grabbed Jean Shuriwa's hand. I should have told you earlier. I really didn't mean to hide this from you. Actually, when we met Chenyu at Yanjing's Inua Club, I bumped into her in the ladies' washroom. She was removing her makeup at that time. She is Chun Guang. Jean Shuriwa's face was full of confusion, and her mind began to recall bits and pieces. When she first met Chenyu, she felt that she was slightly familiar, but because of her impeccable manners, she gradually lost her suspicion. When they met again yesterday, she heard that Chenyu was Chun Guang's sister, so she didn't have her guard up. But once she knew the result first, and then tried to deduce the process, Chenyu would have more flaws. As for her manners, with Chun Guang's acting skills, it wasn't a problem at all. He was a master who could bring others into the film, and now he was only one trophy away from being the best actor. But Jean Shuriwa still didn't understand. I think it's too unbelievable, but it's the truth. Jean Shuriwa rubbed her forehead. Her mind was in a daze. But why? I can't figure it out. Why'd he dress up as a woman? What's the benefit? Usually, he doesn't seem to have that kind of tendency, right? This was the most suspicious point she couldn't understand. Jiang Ye took a deep breath and then said, he didn't explain this to me, and I wanted to ask him, but he didn't want to say. At that time, he also asked me to keep it a secret. I thought that I finally had something on him, and I was too happy, so I didn't think it was necessary to get to the bottom of it. But I think what? Jiang Ye looked at Jean Shuriwa with a burning gaze. Didn't Brother Bai Hua like you in the past? I think that Chun Guang saw Brother Bai Hua as a love rival, and he actually liked you too much and cared about you too much. So, he deliberately dressed up as Chenyu and used Lin Jingwei to get close to Brother Bai Hua, using this drastic method to get rid of his love rival. But I think that he probably didn't expect the effect to be so good, and then Brother Bai Hua completely lost control. In fact, I was the one who put on makeup for him yesterday, and he wanted to put an end to this matter once and for all. Jean Shuriwa's breath stagnated, and she was completely confused. Her heart was extremely tangled. Rationally, she felt that Jiang Ye's speculation was too ridiculous and too unrealistic. Chun Guang had never taken the initiative to express any feelings for her. But emotionally, she couldn't help but hope that what Jiang Ye said was true, even if it was too cruel and unfair to Bai Hua, and even if it made Chun Guang seem quite despicable to achieve his goals by hook or by crook. But Jean Shuriwa was subconsciously willing to accept his despicable actions, and she was even moved to the point that her heart stopped beating. Just like how she was the one who had evil intentions, but in the end, she pretended to be kind and helped Jiang Ye. Jean Shuriwei couldn't deny it, but in fact, she was also selfish. I still feel that it's a bit unbelievable. This isn't a play. How could Chen Guang make such a sacrifice for me? How could he be so despicable? Jean Shuyue's heart was already shaken. Jiang Yage shook her head fiercely. You must not say that about him. People are really strange. Once they're driven by emotions, even the most upright person may do something that even they themselves can't believe. Just like me, and also like you, Sister Shuriwei, don't you think so? Chapter 1007. Jean Shuriwei looks back at Jiang Yage and remembers all kinds of concealment between herself and Solomon for a long time. She feels that Jiang Yage's words have a hidden meaning and a tacit understanding. In fact, everyone is very despicable, and there is really no reason to blame anyone. Sister Shuriwei, I'm not talking about you. In fact, it's all my fault. I knew from a long time ago that the person Chen Guang likes is you, but I have been hiding it from you. It's me who is the third party. It's me who is intervening in your relationship. Alas, Solomon, don't say it. I'm not magnanimous either. No, I want to say it. I must say it. I've always felt that it's because he cares so much about you that he keeps you at arm's length. It's because he worries about personal gains and losses. It's just like how he treats me or other people. He's especially open-minded because he has no desires and fears nothing. Jean Shuriwei is sweet in her heart when she hears Jiang Yage's words, but she also feels heartache for Jiang Yage. Yes, in fact, Chen Guang's acting skills have always been very good, and he really hides his feelings deeply. But Solomon also likes Chen Guang, even before her. She must be very sad to say this, right? Alas, Solomon, it's not your fault. You said it first, alas. The two poor women sympathize with each other again. In fact, if Jiang Yage and Jean Shuriwei know the real reason why Chen Guang pretends to be Chen Yu, it's just that he's trapped by Lin Jingwei. In order to get back that limited edition Patek Philippe, they unknowingly make things like this today. I'm afraid that the two women will vomit blood until they have anemia. Thousands of mistakes. It's all the fault of fate. It's the fault of fate that leads to today's mistakes again and again. In addition to saying that fate makes fun of people, what else can they say? On the other end, Chen Guang's call finally came in. Jiang Yage looked at the caller ID and gestured to Jean Shuriwei to keep quiet. Then, before Chen Guang could speak, she said, "Did you see the news?" When Chen Guang heard this, he felt strange. Why was her mental state better than he had imagined? She seemed to be very open-minded and relieved. This was illogical. Wait a minute, was she going to give up? That's not very good, is it? Chen Guang gritted his teeth. Yeah, I saw it. I saw your Weibo too. I didn't expect it to turn out like this. I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing to me? It's nothing. Jiang Yage was stubborn. Chen Guang asked, "Didn't your grandfather scold you?" He said it. Sai, who cares? He can't possibly arrest me and lock me up, right? Jiang Yage said casually. Obviously, she was also putting up a front in front of Chen Guang. Actually, when she said this, her heart skipped a beat. Not good. Not to mention, with her grandfather's temper, she might really be put under house arrest. Maybe she'd probably not. She subconsciously repeated it again, but there was a hint of uncertainty in her tone. Forget it. If it really doesn't work, I'll go to Beijing to look for your grandfather immediately. They should still give me face. No need. There's really no need. Don't worry about this. I have a way. I can settle it. If it really doesn't work, I'll look for you again. If you get involved now, it will only get more and more troublesome. Jiang Yage said hurriedly. All right. Chen Guang nodded. He also didn't have a good solution. The current situation was completely out of his expectations. Hearing him let go, Jiang Yage secretly looked at Jean Shuriwei and said tentatively, "Actually, I think this situation is not bad." How is it not bad? Think about it. I came out of the closet and got together with Chen Yu. What about you and Sister Shuriwei? Although you said that you're not close, but in fact, everyone in and out of the circle still sees you as Sister Shuriwei's fiancé. No matter what, it's more acceptable than two women sharing a husband, right? Chen Guang was instantly speechless. He wanted to say that he wasn't interested in Jean Shuriwei, but he felt that it wasn't appropriate. All right, when you decided to pretend to be Chun Yu to seduce Brother Bai Hua, it was because of Sister Shuriwei, right? Jiang Yage looked at Jean Shuriwei and asked the most important question. Then she switched the phone to hands-free mode. Chen Guang didn't know that Jean Shuriwei was right next to him and argued, "What a joke. When did I take the initiative to seduce Brother Bai Hua? Don't discuss me. What else? Then you like women's clothing? No such thing. Then why did you do it? Why did you pretend to be Chun Yu and appear in front of Brother Bai Hua? And you even made him fall head over heels for you. What are you after? I can't figure it out, even if I break my head." Chen Guang was speechless. If it was any other time, he would have hung up the phone. But today, Jiang Yage took the blame for him, and she wanted an answer. It would be too much if he didn't explain anything. But he really didn't have the face to tell her about the Patek Philippe incident. Now that he was a billionaire, how could he dress up as a woman for something worth $1 million and even make someone fall for him? It was ridiculous and shameful. Jiang Yage wouldn't believe it. He sighed. Forget it. Let the old man tell another lie. Okay, I admit it. Yes, I heard that Bai Hua also liked Shuriwei. At that time, I felt that I couldn't compare to him in any way, and my brain short-circuited. Liang Shambua and Zhu Yingtai had seen too much of it, and I wanted to try it myself. But I was just joking. I didn't expect it to become so big. Sigh. Hey, don't be so stubborn. Okay, I know. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up first. Don't say anything on the internet. Just pretend that you don't know anything. You'll be fine in a few days. I'll hang up first. Sister Zhou is knocking on the door. After Jiang Yage finished speaking, she hung up the phone and then blinked at the dumbfounded Jean Shuriwei. Poodle, Sister Shuriwei, did you hear that? The truth, there is only one. He really likes you. Jean Shuriwei's body went limp as she sat on the chair. Her mind was filled with perplexity and sweetness. But at the same time, she also felt blame for Chen Guang. He really did it. In the end, Chen Guang didn't go to the city. Jiang Yage was right. He couldn't help much even if he went. When he returned to the dormitory, the storm on the internet was even more intense. Jiang Yage personally announced it. Even if it was just a message on Weibo, it was equivalent to a press conference. Of course, it added fuel to the fire. Chen Guang was exhausted. Many people who knew about his relationship with his right-hand men came to inquire about the situation. Even Gao Ye dragged Sun Xiaoxuan and Lin Jingwei out. They said it was a dinner party, but in fact, they wanted to gossip. Chen Guang and Lin Jingwei unified their statements and confirmed that Jiang Yage had come out of the closet. Gao Ye was happy for Sun Xiaoxuan. It was a good thing, a very good thing. A super strong competitor had fallen in love with her. What was this called? The evils we bring upon ourselves are the hardest to bear. In the afternoon, Chen Guang felt uneasy and thought that maybe he should call old Jiang. After all, they were acquaintances. He could be the peacemaker and ask old Jiang not to make things difficult for Jiang Yage. However, before he could make the call, the old man called him first. Chen Guang was at a loss. He found a secluded place and picked up the call suspiciously. You know what happened to Solomon, right? Old Jiang went straight to the point. Chen Guang thought, how can I not know? I know. Grandpa Jiang, don't be angry. She's young. She won't think like this after a while. Are you kidding me? She's crazy. Grandpa Jiang, don't be angry. I'm not in Yinjin. If something happens, I'm afraid. It was rare for Chen Guang to talk to old Jiang so politely. Chen Guang, you're a good guy. I haven't heard you being so polite for a long time. You're the top master in the world. I know how powerful you were when you dealt with Ouyang Tianxing and the others. You have your pride and arrogance. You're so polite today, which shows that you really care about Solomon and me, right? Chen Guang was puzzled. He didn't know why old Jiang suddenly said that. He felt that something was wrong. Yes, it's like this. Solomon is my friend, and Grandpa Jiang, you're also very kind to me. If it weren't for your and Grandpa Jin's help, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'll remember your kindness. It's good that you remember my kindness, but you have to help me this time. How? Old Jean and I have already taken Solomon and Shuriwei home. She was stubborn with me in the afternoon, and it seems that she can't get over this hurdle. Solomon is under house arrest. Yes, I'll lock her up for a while. Grandpa Jiang, this is not very good, right? Our movie has just finished shooting, and it's going to be the publicity period soon. We can't do it without her cooperation. I invested a lot of money in the movie. If the box office is not good, I'll lose everything. Chun Guang hurriedly said his difficulties, trying to save the country in a roundabout way. Old Jiang snorted. Of course I know, but I'm just putting on an act. Now there's only one solution. What? Arrange for your people and prepare to let your Qingguang group take over the agency of Solomon and Shuriwei. Humph. I've discussed with old Jean. The companies of the two girls, together with their own agency contracts, will be sold to you for 1 yuan. Why is that? No reason. Dare to come out of the closet? And like women, this is simply smearing the bottom of a pot on my face. I will never agree, but there's no need to give me their company, is there? Don't talk nonsense. Aren't you very good at attracting girls? No, I'm very pure. There's no way you're pure. In short, I'll give you the sword, and you give me the advantage of being close to Solomon. From now on, the two girls are artists under Chun Guang's banner. I heard that their net worth is worth billions now, right? I'll give it to you for free. Don't be polite with me. No, this is my military order. If you want to get these billions for free, you have to get Solomon. At least you have to change her sexual orientation for me. Do you hear me? Chun Guang was completely dumbfounded, and there was a deep knot in his mind as big as the logo of Huaxia Unicom. What was going on here? Chun Guang didn't answer. Old Jiang thought he was reluctant, so he changed the subject and pretended to be miserable again. Little Chun, this old man rarely asks for help, but this time I'm really panicking. You have to help me. Look at me. I'm already so old, but my precious granddaughter is dating a homosexual. Do you know how sad I feel? Can you do me this favor? Now I really don't know who else I can count on except you. Anyway, you have a good relationship with them, right? Now, they don't have any other friends of the opposite sex. It's better for you than to let them date a homosexual, right? I'm old. Don't let me die with regrets. Grandpa Jiang, I agree. Good. Then it's a deal. Now the two girls are struggling, but don't worry. We'll lock them up for a few more days. If they want to go out, they must sign the contract. There was a bang on the other side of old Jiang. Maybe he was so excited that he hit the table. Okay, it's a deal. Old Jiang was in a good mood. Little Chun, listen to me. The transfer contract we arranged is a full transfer. That is to say, the acting careers of Solomon and Shuriwei will all be in your hands in the future. You can do whatever you want. If she is really disobedient, you can even sleep with her. Don't worry, I'll support you. I'll hang up first. Wait for my good news. 3 days at the latest. After that, the old man hung up the phone. Chun Guang stood in the corner like a silly goose. He could probably imagine how much acting Jiang Yage would do at this moment. She may be resisting stubbornly, making a scene, but in fact, she should be almost crazy with joy in her heart. Chun Guang sympathized with old Jiang, who was fooled and thought everything was under his control. With such a good granddaughter, you are really miserable, bawled Grandpa. In short, I'm going to sleep with her. Chapter 1008. The next morning, the public opinion on the internet didn't stop. Instead, it became more and more intense. Master Jiang had already made his move, and the mainstream media no longer reported this matter. Jiang Yage's Weibo post was also deleted by someone behind the scenes. However, the netizens couldn't resist the enthusiasm of the netizens. Screenshots of Weibo were still circulating everywhere, and discussions were still in full swing in various forums, groups, and WeChat moments in real life. According to the current trend, it didn't matter how many posts were deleted or banned. There was no flashlight that could erase people's memories like in Men in Black. No matter how powerful the deletion method was, it wouldn't be able to erase the memories in people's heads. Unless there was another explosive news that could turn the world upside down, the influence of this matter could only be eliminated with time. Chun Guang got up early in the morning and went straight to the company's headquarters in the city. Recently, Most of Tianguang Group's energy was focused on cooperating with the movie promotion of women. Since Tianguang didn't have other arrangements, they couldn't be idle. Since the company took the majority of the investment in women, the box office of women was also the company's business. Anyway, they had nothing to do, and they couldn't just take their salary for nothing. Yu Hong also knew the principle of the workplace. They couldn't wait for the boss to arrange everything, and they had to learn to find their own things to do. Yu Hong, Fang Tianyu, Lu Xiaoyang, and Su Li all thought so. Therefore, the whole company hadn't been idle recently. Their lives were very fulfilling, and they didn't need to worry that one day the boss would suddenly ask them to pack up and leave. However, there was a new change yesterday. The well-deserved female lead of women, Jiang Yage, made a big news. The crew of women panicked, and the whole Tianguang group was also confused. There were precedents of using scandals to attract attention in the industry, but this kind of thing had never happened to Jiang Yage. The producers and the investors didn't have the guts to make fun of Jiang Yage, not to mention that we were the investors, but we didn't have such a thing in our plan. Then there was only one possibility. The news on the internet was all true. She really came out of the closet. No one knew whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. The smarter investors would definitely take advantage of the situation. No matter what, they would ride on this hot topic and do whatever they could to hype up the movie. For example, they could even make up a story that Jiang Yage and Chen Yu met each other during filming and then spread some news, true or false, that Chen Yu had visited the set during the outdoor shooting. But the target was Jiang Yage. No matter how good the idea was, they couldn't do it casually. Everyone had a fierce heart, but they had to feel the stones to cross the river. Lu Xiaoyang tried to contact his right-hand man, Zhou Yun, but to no avail. Zhou Yun simply said that the two of them had been sent back to their families, and no one knew what was going on. Then comrade Xiao Lu contacted Big Beard. Big Beard, who was busy with the post-production editing, also had a cute look on his face as his eyes welled up with tears. It wasn't easy for him to finally get rid of the two little princesses who were extremely difficult to please. He was just waiting for the finished film to be released, and then he would be completely free. He didn't expect that just a few days after the filming was completed, there would be such a big scandal. Do you know how hard it is for me to live? Don't ask me what's going on. I have no idea why Solomon would suddenly come out of the closet. Didn't she have a good relationship with Qingguang before? They were just short of rolling in the sheets in public. I don't know. I'm desperate. The bearded man bit the bullet and tried to call Jiang Yage to communicate, but no one answered. Later, Big Beard learned something for Zhou. He was so scared that he didn't throw his phone away. He decided to cut the film in seclusion. Even if the sky falls down, I don't know anything. It's none of my business. I'm just an old director who is serious about making movies. Although I have a big beard, it doesn't mean I'm brave enough to use Jiang Yage's scandal to hype up the movie. So a whole day passed. Tianguang Group didn't take any measures no matter how itchy they were. They couldn't hype up the movie. As for covering up the limelight, there must be a mysterious force taking action. There was no need for Tianguang Group to pay out of their own pocket to do such a thing. However, everyone thought of their poor boss at the same time. Thinking about it, they felt sorry for him. In the beginning, he debuted as Jean Shiyue's fiancé. Not long after, he acted cool at the press conference and dumped her. Although Jean Shiyue later confessed on Weibo, it was all bark and no bite. Gradually, there was no news. Before the kissing scene was released, the two didn't have any new rumors. It seemed that they really broke up. Later on, there were vague rumors and signs that Jiang Yage seemed to be very close to the boss and had a very close relationship. Although it was inconceivable, our boss seemed to have the characteristics of flirting with women. He took a beautiful and talented director Chu to a world language conference. It wasn't surprising that his left and right hands were taken by him one after the other. But now, it seemed that our boss had been flirting with girls until his sexual orientation was twisted. The world's greatest tragedy was this. The boss who felt sorry for his girl was taken away by a girl for 3 seconds. Then, everyone acted like Director Deng and pretended that nothing had happened. Actually, Lu Xiaoyang and Fang Tianyu didn't feel sorry for him. In fact, they wanted to laugh. You deserve this. Retribution. Who told you to be so poor and arrogant? You failed miserably, like drawing water with a wicker basket. You had to grab both of them. Both of your hands slipped, right? I'll give you 2 words. You deserve it. Then it's decided. From now on, we won't mention it again. But we have to be prepared. It's very likely that Jin Shuriwei and Jiang Yage won't be able to attend the promotional work. If it's only Rin Chong and Zhao Yueling, their status might not be enough. Xiao Yang, discuss this with the boss. I'm afraid that the boss has to attend personally to maintain the attention. Yu Hong waved his hand at the meeting. Lu Xiaoyang resisted the urge to laugh and said with a straight face, "No problem. I'll go to the boss's school later." Then, the meeting is adjourned. Yu Hong waved his hand and rubbed his sore eyebrows. What a headache. After everyone left one after another, Lu Xiaoyang and Fong Tianyu looked at each other and smiled wickedly. He, Lu Xiaoyang, how tragic. Fong Tianyu, +1. What a shame. How sad. What a disgrace to men. The girl, he got turned into a lesbian. If it were me, I would have hung myself. Old Fong, you are a sea turtle, but why do I always feel that you are one of us? The more I look at you, the more pleasing to the eye. Xiao Lu, I also find it strange. Logically speaking, you and I are not on the same level, but I think you regret not meeting me earlier. Lu Xiaoyang, a hero doesn't care about his background? Fong Tianyu nodded. A pervert who doesn't care about his background? You 2 bitches. Su Li suddenly poked his head in from outside and said in a sinister tone. 2 of the 4 kings of Tianguang Agency stared at him at the same time. Shut up. Su Li was still very calm. I'm going to complain to the boss and say that you 2 are taking pleasure in his misfortune. The 2 panicked. Old Su, don't. Su Li paid no attention to the 2 of them, turning his head and walking out. The 2 quickly followed him out of the meeting room and saw Chen Guang and Yu Hong walking in side by side. Where are you going? Let's go back to the meeting room. Chen Guang waved his hand and went straight into the meeting room. Lu Xiaoyang and Fong Tianyu looked at each other and secretly gave Su Li a thumbs up. Brother, thank you for saving my life. He said he was going to complain to the boss, but he was actually reminding the 2 of them when he saw that the boss was here. Su Li rolled his eyes and looked at them as if they all owed him a big meal. After the 4 kings sat down, Chen Guang took a deep breath and said, I have an important announcement. Get ready as soon as possible. Jin Shuriwei and Jiang Yade's agency will be merged into Tianguang Agency, and the price will be 1 yuan. Yu Hong what? Lu Xiaoyang what? Fong Tianyu damn. Su Li, Chen Guang looked at the 4 kings' shocked expressions and didn't know if he should be proud or sad. He raised his hand slightly and pressed it down. All right. Quiet down. You don't need to know the reason. Anyway, this is the decision, and I have no right to object. Lu Xiaoyang was the first to stand up. Boss, I'm invincible. Fong Tianyu was 1 step slower. I'm on my knees, boss. Yu Hong calmed down a little. Although our agency used to be called Tianguang Agency, we actually don't have any experience in managing artists. Su Li started counting on his fingers. If we suddenly merge into an agency with a market value of billions at 1 yuan, it will be very difficult to handle the accounting. Looking at Yu Hong, Chen Guang continued. Old Yu, I don't want the 2 of them to suffer too much of a loss even though their company said that it's only worth $1. What do you think about this matter? Yu Hong rubbed his temples and thought for about 5 minutes before saying carefully, their companies are actually very mature. We don't have any experience, but their people are very familiar with it. If we break up their companies and merge them into our agency, it will have a huge impact on the personnel structure of both sides. Why don't we just use their companies as the basic framework? We can even change their company's name to Tianguang Culture and then become a subsidiary company controlled by our headquarters. What do you think, boss? Chen Guang nodded. That's a good idea. But I heard that their companies originally had 2 artists under them, and they're also the controlling shareholders. Boss, didn't you discuss the specific shares with them? Chen Guang had a slight headache. Old Zhang's words were easy. Giving him 1 yuan was equivalent to giving him money for free, but he didn't feel at ease taking the money. But if he didn't have the controlling shares, old Jiang might not agree. He was afraid that he couldn't control Jiang Yage. My controlling shares must be more than 50%. How about you transfer your agency contract to the subsidiary of Tianguang Culture? Then you will have 60% of the shares, and they will each have 20% of the shares. Although your reputation is about the same as those two, I personally think that your potential personal brand value is still greater than theirs. This is fair to them, and they won't lose out. Chen Guang made the final decision. Okay, it's settled. Keep it a secret for now. When the dust settles in a few days, you can quickly hand over and announce the news to the public. And so, the matter was more or less settled. Until Chen Guang left in the afternoon, the four great generals felt like they were in a dream. Their boss's tricks were too deep. Just when everyone thought that he had finally broken up with his girlfriend, he suddenly took everything from her body to her money. How domineering, how scary, how shameless. 3 days later, when the news of Jiang Yage coming out of the closet reached its peak and began to gradually decline, another piece of heavy news came out and swept the internet at an even faster speed. Left and right hand had changed owners. No, left and right hand had finally sold their bodies. No, in short, in the entire entertainment industry, Jin Shuriyue and Jiang Yage, who had the most mysterious backgrounds and didn't need to rely on tycoons, had become artists under Chen Guang. With lightning speed, Tianguang Culture was established. This company was under Tianguang Group and mainly dealt with artist agency contracts. At the moment, there were only 3 signed artists, Chen Guang, Jin Shuriyue, and Jiang Yage. Actually, everyone knew that it was the left and right hand whose company had been swallowed up by Chen Guang. Although they didn't know how much money he had spent, based on the value of those two, even if Tianguang Group had received 1 billion yuan in cash from the Rising Sea Fund, it would still be impossible for them to swallow this big fish. This was like a snake swallowing an elephant. Chen Guang had picked up a huge bargain. He had become a winner in life just by lying down. He had gotten these 2 works continuously, but was only 20 years old. It was as if he had 2 money printing machines at home. Jiang Yage had just come out of the closet, but in the blink of an eye, she and Jin Shuriyue had given her and her money to Chen Guang. The millions of people who were watching on the sidelines couldn't react in time. The explosive news came one after another. It was really tiring for us gossipers. There was too much gossip, and we couldn't digest it all. The world of the rich was really deep. Curse that be *TCH named Chen Guang. Feeling the endless resentment coming from afar, Chen Guang looked numbly at Lin Jingwei, Xiong'er, and Bai Nyangzi, who were about to go berserk and strangle him to death. He spread his hands, his face full of helplessness. What could I do? I was just lying down, and a mountain of gold fell on my head. I even had to follow the unspoken rules. I had no choice. Don't look at me like that. I'm handsome and good-looking. My face is good, so my life is good. You're too shameless. You're worse than a beast. Lin Jingwei. I'm going to call my grandpa. I'm going to expose you. Lin Jingwei knew the most, and he was also very smart. He didn't even need Chen Guang to explain to him. He knew why Grandpa Jiang made this decision. He thought to himself, poor Grandpa Jiang, you really don't have to count on Brother Guang to save Solomon. You're clearly sending a sheep to the tiger's mouth. Chapter 1009. Chen Guang patted Lin Jingwei's shoulder, pulled him aside, and whispered in his ear, "Why don't you report me? Tell them that you asked me to disguise as Chen Yu." Lin Jingwei broke out in a cold sweat, and his heart turned cold. No way? Brother Guang, you want to die with me? Chen Guang grunted. You think about how to explain it to the old masters. Grandpa Jiang hasn't reacted yet, but I guess tonight, or tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow, they will call you. But I'm guessing that they'll call you tonight, or tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow at the latest. Lin Jingwei suddenly became alert. The first time Chen Yu appeared in front of others was when he brought her to find Bai Hua. If the old masters wanted to investigate Chen Yu's background, they would definitely call him. Damn it, Brother Guang. Teach me what to do. Beg me. I beg you. Don't mess with me. Fine. Just say that she's my sister, and she took the initiative to find you. All right, just say that she's my sister, and that she took the initiative to look for you. She's someone that even I don't dare to provoke. She's a person that's 10 times more cold-blooded than I am. Naturally, they wouldn't ask too much. She is someone that even I don't dare to provoke, and she is 10 times more cold-blooded than I am. Naturally, they won't ask any more questions. What do you mean? Chun Guang grinned and patted Lin Jingwei's shoulder. Young man, don't forget that the person in front of you is the most powerful inner force martial artist in the world. What do you mean? If I were in the ancient times, I would be a dragon slayer and the leader of the martial arts world. Have you ever seen anyone who dared to interrogate Dongfang Booby? Lin Jingwei was stunned at first, and then suddenly realized, and then his face quickly turned pale. What? You learned the Sunflower Treasure Book? Get lost. Chen Guang covered his face and retreated. He really didn't want to admit that he had actually learned a similar lotus book in the true martial world. However, at that time, Xiao Chun had already become a martial sage and was more cautious. He flipped to the last page and did not stupidly castrate himself. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Tingguang Brokerage had been very busy. They had finally absorbed Jin Zhang's company and conveniently moved the subsidiary company, Tingguang Culture, to Beijing. As for the personnel, there weren't too many changes. Tingguang Culture was still operated by the original person in charge of Jin Zhang's company. It was just that the company's equity had changed and Chen Guang's personal management contract had been added. In these 3 days, there were some undercurrents that were not known to outsiders in Sichuan province. The wealthy Xiang family had once again poked a hornet's nest. They were ruthlessly slapped to the ground by a big slap from the sky. Then they were repeatedly rubbed. Dozens of members of the Xiang family, as well as many people and forces attached to the Xiang family, were all annihilated. Although there weren't many capital crimes, there were many cases of confiscation of property, sentencing, and pursuing of responsibility. Within a year, the Xiang family had lost 2 pillars, Xiang Guoming and Xiang Guorong. The losses could be said to be tragic. What was even more tragic was that when the wall was down, everyone would give a push. The friends in the political, business, and military circles who were on good terms with the Xiang family all closed their doors at this critical moment. They cut themselves off from the outside world and paid no attention to the outside world. No matter how the Xiang family begged in a low voice and waved a tempting check, hoping for someone to say a good word for them, it was useless. No one dared to take their moves. When they were attacked, what the other party threw out was also a solid hammer. If they didn't investigate you, everything would be fine. But once they did, it would be a smear of blood on the wall. At that time, Su Lijing asked Xiang Guoming to find someone to take Chen Guang's life, and Xiang Yangming dared to talk nonsense in Lu Chao's club. It was precisely because the Xiang family had never been clean. Lu Chao was also quick-witted. Although he didn't need to meddle in the affairs of Bai Hua, he still reminded his good friends not to get involved in the Xiang family's matter. There is no such thing as an airtight wall in the world. Lu Chao was in the limelight, and the matter was so big, so naturally, it quickly spread throughout the country. Bai Hua also didn't intend to keep a low profile. It was better for others to know their place, so he didn't have to resort to more tricks. In just a few days, the Xiang family had collapsed like a withered tree. Their foundation couldn't be said to be solid. In the beginning, they relied on the relationship between Xiang Guoming and Su Lijing to start their business. Naturally, this time, their foundation was greatly damaged, and there was no possibility of a comeback. No one would remember the desperate cries of the Xiang family. Today it's us, tomorrow it'll be you. Chen Guang didn't care too much about these things. He was more concerned about the other side. Lu Chao didn't have to spend much effort to uncover the waiter who secretly took photos and leaked the photos. According to Lu Chao's plan, he wanted this greedy and daring young man to break both his hands. However, before he made his move, he first called Chen Guang to ask for his opinion. When he received Lu Chao's call, Chen Guang was walking on a long bridge with Lin Jingwei and the others. They were planning to go to the first building for class. At first, he was very angry and almost wanted to kill this guy. But in the end, his heart softened. Luli said that he was kind-hearted, but he didn't admit it. He even said that he didn't even blink when he killed the Broken World, Ouyang Tianxing, or the father and son of the Bao family. Then, Luli said that he was decisive at that time because, based on his morals and outlook on life, he believed that these people deserved to die more than once. But in fact, every time he wanted to kill someone, he would first involuntarily define the other party's personality in his heart. His reasoning was very simple. He would always divide people into 3 categories: those who must be killed, those who could be killed, and those who could not be killed. When he made his move, he didn't hesitate because the people he killed were those that he thought must be killed. But if the other party provoked you, if you felt that the other party did not deserve to die and that the other party did not deserve to die, you wouldn't hate them anymore. At that time, Chen Guang was still arguing with Lu Li. But when Lu Chao asked how he should deal with that person, Chen Guang hesitated for a few seconds and then asked Lu Chao to let him go. Although the things that guy did were a bit ridiculous, the result was not unacceptable. Instead, he got a big bargain. As for the person behind the scenes who posted the news online, Chen Guang had no clue at all. Not only him, but even the special department that had been instructed by Old Master Jiang had not been able to find out who the culprit was. The other party's anti-detection methods and hacking skills could be said to be terrifying. When they first bought the photos, they were very careful and moved at least 5 broilers across several major networks around the world. Later, the other party's method of releasing the news was also very secretive. They directly hacked the servers of the mainstream media and changed the data from the back end. The first one they used to spread the news was an account that originally belonged to Zhuo Wei. Now, the account was in Chen Guang's own hands, 8 weekly. This was the good thing about Chen Guang. Since I couldn't find out who it was, I didn't need to worry about it. It would save me a lot of energy. If it was someone who wanted to secretly mess with me, then he should be regretting it now. It helped me a lot and allowed me to get a big bargain. He would probably do something else in the future, but it didn't matter. This time, I'll let you sneak up on me. It won't be so easy for you to hide so well next time. The more you do, the more you'll expose yourself. Sooner or later, you'll fall into my hands. At that time, whether you live or die will be decided based on your gender and appearance. Men die. Women ugly die. Beautiful lady will definitely become very good friends. The old man was just that honest. With this thought, Chen Guang happily returned to his school life. At least before Big Beard finished editing the film, he still had some free time. Recently, Jiang Ye's matter had become too big. The heated discussion about the movie Women and the play Thunderstorm had died down a lot. Chen Guang was very unhappy about this. Why are you guys worrying about nothing? Pay more attention to the meaningful things. You guys are not good for the box office and acting skills of my movie. Although he was unhappy, he couldn't do anything about it. Huaxia was a very traditional country. Although same-sex love was known by everyone, in the eyes of many traditional older generations, it was still a disgraceful thing. It was not something that could be shown in public. Throughout the Chinese entertainment industry, there weren't many celebrities who publicly admitted that they were different from ordinary people. Although many people knew that it wasn't an isolated case, but a widespread phenomenon in society, there were still very few people who dared to face it and be honest. Ordinary people couldn't accept it, let alone celebrities who were public figures. It was even rarer for A-list and A-list superstars above the B-list to publicly admit that they were the same sex. Jiang Ye, who had always appeared in front of the world as an obedient and sunny girl, suddenly came out of the closet, which shocked countless people. Tianguang Group suddenly swallowed an elephant, which completely shut down the minds of countless onlookers. Countless people were trying to figure out what was going on, but no one could find the answer. As for those who knew the inside story, they were secretly shocked by old Zhang's decisiveness. In order to pull back his granddaughter who had embarked on the evil path, old Jiang wanted Chen Guang, the most beautiful man in the world, to take action. Of course, they sympathized with old Jiang, but they couldn't tell him about it, not even behind his back. If it reached his ears, someone would be killed. The clamor in the outside world continued. Old Jiang was still furious, But in fact, insiders like Chen Guang and Jian Yage had already calmed down. It didn't matter what outsiders thought. Even if the sky had fallen, as long as the days passed, even the craziest topic would subside one day. As long as old Jiang didn't explode with anger, everything would be fine. Chen Guang didn't stay completely idle while he was in class. He took the time to go to the Guangdong General Administration. Although he was no longer the director, the General Administration still didn't guard against him and let him come and go. Even his director's office was left intact. Knowing that Chen Guang had finally returned to the bureau, Wu Miaowan, who stayed behind, ran over happily. She closed the office door and approached him with a smile. "Mr. Chrysanthemum, you're finally back. I thought you had abandoned me after using me." Chen Guang put his hand on her shoulder to stop her from jumping on him. "Save it. I have business." Seeing his serious expression, Wu Miaowan stopped teasing him. Instead, she took his cup and made him a cup of his favorite bamboo green tea. Chen Guang flipped over his desk. There was a thick stack of documents on it. It turned out to be the list of new martial arts beauties that he had just printed this morning. "I've already resigned. Why are you still giving me these things?" Wu Miaowan handed the cup to him. "This is my little sweetheart's idea. She said that you might want to come back at any time. So she put more things for you so that you can feel your presence when you come back." "What? Does she think that I'm still nostalgic for this little bit of power?" Yes. We all know that you're pursuing the highest realm of martial arts and the ultimate boundary of magic, my great magician Chrysanthemum. Good that you know. By the way, where is Xianqin? Do you all know what I asked Dai Quan to tell you last time?" Chen Guang rubbed the cup with his hand. When he thought about the mutated giant wolf, he still felt a little worried. In fact, for the past few days, although he didn't return to the police station due to his pride, he was very concerned about this matter. He also secretly told Xuelin that if there was any movement, she must report to him as soon as possible. In addition, he had secretly obtained the extremely high authority to access the National Public Security Information System through Wushan. If there were any strange cases, he would be the first to know. He did not want to stir up the righteous Wu Tong, so he deliberately avoided talking to her. Chen Guang was very anxious. Even if he drained the earth elemental energy around him every 2 to 3 days, he could not stop the other types of elemental energy from becoming stronger along with the power of the Holy Grail. He knew that this matter was not over yet, but he could only watch helplessly. The cup was in his hand, and the power of the Holy Grail was constantly leaking out. It was useless to wrap it with more bags. Liuli still lived in the cup, and it contained the 3,000 worlds. As one of the 10 great artifacts of the endless divine realm, not even a Star Destroyer cannon could do anything to this cup. With his limited worldview and pitiful understanding of the endless divine realm, he could not imagine anything in this world that could break this cup. Of course, even if it really was broken, it might not be appropriate. According to Liuli, because he had activated the punishment realm twice, it was equivalent to poking a hole in the real universe. One of the 9 great special cups, the real world, was slowly merging with this universe with Earth as the boundary. Just one of the 3,000 worlds, the real world, could merge with the entire universe. Chen Guang was really afraid that after breaking the cup, all the power in the Holy Grail would be instantly released, and his universe would be completely gone. This was completely possible. Then, he would have to become an eternally wandering, lonely soul in the infinite nothingness. Just thinking about that scene made him feel despair. He felt that he was really quite great. He was clearly still a college student, a cute undergraduate student, sitting here drinking bamboo leaf green, crossing his legs, shooting small movies, and running a small company. In fact, he was worried about the world and the safety of the entire universe. Even I feel that it is very strange. Aliens far away in the endless starry sky, you have to thank me. There is such a great master of the 3,000 worlds who is so worried about the fate of the entire universe. Other people rule a country like cooking a small dish, but I save the universe like making a pancake. There was simply no point. He would be scolded as a retard if he told others about it. Others could not see his anxiety, and he had no way to tell anyone about it. In front of others, He could only selectively ignore those things that he could not think of a solution to and act like everything was normal. He had no choice. He could not be so nervous that he trembled in a corner every day. That would be useless. It was meaningless for him to be anxious and angry. He could not be like Monkey's son, who could pull a handful of hair from his thigh and throw on the ground to make countless little Chengguang appear, looking for mutated animals or mutants all over the world. He could only guard his own little territory and anxiously wait for the next news. If mutated monsters that ordinary people could not defeat really appeared, he would quickly think of a way to alert the Guangdong General Headquarters to respond. If the military could handle the situation, he would leave it to the military. If the military could not handle the situation, he would leave it to the inner force warriors. If everyone could not handle it, he would personally take action. But he had been waiting for almost a whole month, and there was no news at all. It seemed that since the appearance of the mutated wolves last time, everything had returned to normal, and nothing had changed. If not for the power of the Holy Grail drilling in his nostrils, he would almost think that he was hallucinating, so he decided to personally come to the station to ask. Chapter 10:10. Dearest brought some people to Kainan Province to investigate the situation. It'll probably be another 2 days before she returns. She want to see the wolf carcasses? That happened last month. Then something happened in Kainan Province? Why didn't you tell me? Chen Guang stood up immediately. Wu Miaowan was taken aback by his sudden outburst. Don't be so anxious. It's not like it's confirmed information or something that hasn't been verified yet. We can't possibly let you, the #1 expert in the world, make a pointless trip, right? Chen Guang sat down again. That's true. Sai, what exactly happened in Kainan Province? It's said that a particularly large pig appeared there. It's a bit similar to the wolves you slaughtered last time. Chen Guang became nervous again. Do you have any video data? Yes. Let me see. Wu Miaowan pounced in front of Chen Guang's computer. Here, verify your bureau chief account and see for yourself. There's something going on outside. I'll go out first. All right, go ahead. Chen Guang clicked on it and saw that it was indeed a large pig. It was at least twice the size of an ordinary livestock. He frowned. However, from the photo, the pig did not show any signs of mastering elemental power despite its large size. However, Chen Guang did not dare to let his guard down. What if the elemental power in this giant pig was still in its infancy, or it had developed intelligence and learned to hide its strength? As he was thinking about that, Wu Miaowan, who had just gone out, came back with a strange look on her face. Dearest, just send me a video. Take a look at it, sir. Chen Guang took the phone and stared at it. Chen Guang, you're at the station? What a coincidence. I just arrived at Kainan Province. Enchanting was very happy to see Chen Guang all of a sudden. She said cheerfully while holding a large skewer in her hand. Her mouth was full of grease. When Chen Guang saw this, he felt relieved that everything was fine. He asked, Wu Miaowan told me about the giant pig. Let me take a look. Is there any sign of further growth? Unexpectedly, Enchanting's expression changed abruptly when she heard this. She looked as if she found it difficult to speak. Chen Guang knitted his brows tightly, thinking that something must have happened. Something must have happened, but she just wanted to hide it from him. Don't worry, I'll be right there. Chen Guang was about to get up when Enchanting hurriedly said, Don't come near me. Chen Guang walked briskly toward the door. Don't let your guard down. I can't fully grasp the strength of the mutated monsters right now. If they're weak, they might be no different from normal livestock, but I won't eliminate the possibility of them surpassing Skin Force martial artists. No, it's not like that. Take a look. On the other side of the video call, Enchanting was anxious. She shouted and switched the phone to the rear camera, aiming at the other side. Here's the pig. That's all. Enchanting's crisp voice could be heard. She was talking into the microphone as she quickly approached. What entered Chen Guang's sight was a huge barbecue rack. 7 or 8 people surrounded the barbecue rack, bustling about happily. The barbecue rack was filled to the brim with roasted pig trotters and soy sauce, fat five flowers, large ribs, crispy pork ribs. These treasures from the pig were piled up densely. Slightly further away, there were 2 or 3 people surrounding a big pot that was emitting smoke. They were probably still stirring the offal of the pig. Among these people, Chen Guang could name most of them. Almost all of them were martial artists employed by the General Directorate of Guangding. There was Taoist Song Song from the plain-clothes sect. The old Taoist was stroking his beard while happily fiddling with cumin. However, his mouth was full of sorrow as he muttered, "It's a pity that this talented animal has become your meal." Dai Quan pointed at another brawny man. "It's all Master Pan's fault. I told him to wait and see, but he rushed up and punched him." Boxing tyrant Panda, who had been shot in the chest to protect Wu Miaowan, rubbed his head in embarrassment. "It wasn't easy for me to recover from my injury, and my hands were itching. The giant wolf that the chief dealt with was so powerful. I thought that this pig must not be simple either. I didn't expect this animal to be so weak." A farmer came up from the side. "Uncle Pan, I've already said that my pig grew up slowly from a young age. No matter how strong it is, it's still just an ordinary pig. Unlike you, Uncle Pan, you were born a human and your fists are as heavy as a bulldozer. My poor little black. Fellow townsmen, don't be sad. I'll add another 5,000 yuan. A pig for 25,000 yuan. Its life as a pig is worth it." The fellow townsman immediately smiled and did not say anything else. "Chen Guang, so you guys just turned that pig into a barbecue festival." Xianqin switched back to the front camera to face herself. Did you see? When we arrived this morning, sect leader Dai and Master Pan were talking about the giant wolves that you dealt with." Master Pan's heart was itching when he heard that. He saw the pig rush up and punch it. "We couldn't even stop it and had to pay 20,000 yuan to settle the fellow townsman down. We thought that since we've already bought the pig, why don't we just barbecue it? We called all the townsmen here and estimated that it would take about 100 people to finish it." Chen Guang sighed. Fine. He had been nervous for nothing. Since the giant pig had grown to this size and could kill Panda in one hit, it obviously had nothing to do with elemental energy. Panda looked up and saw Xianqin on a video call. "Deputy Chief, who are you talking to?" Xianqin pointed the phone at Panda. "Chief." Panda blushed and scratched his head. Chief, long time no see. Old Pan, have embarrassed you this time. Luckily, I was the one who killed the pigs in our fist faction when I was learning Kung Fu. I'm familiar with the process. Chief, should we bring some fat back for you?" Chen Guang hurriedly waved his hand. "No need." He chatted briefly with everyone and only ended the video call after a long time. It was obvious that the experts in the headquarters were very excited to see him again and were very respectful of him. Although he had resigned, these martial artists still only recognized him as the chief. Chen Guang's prestige in the headquarters came abruptly. It wasn't because of his virtue and prestige, nor was it because of his meticulous planning. It was rare for him to make a decision himself, but in the end, he still fell into someone else's trap. At least in the eyes of the people in the headquarters, the chief's intelligence could not be counted on. But none of this was important because he fully deserved his unrivaled strength. This thing was even more valuable than aged wine, and would never expire. A true powerhouse did not need to flaunt his martial arts all the time. Everyone knew that he had reached an unreachable height in martial arts. Even if he were to eat the amount of food for 10 people every day and sleep for 20 hours every day, turning himself into a fat man with a big belly for decades, he would still be the unsurpassable strongest martial artist in history. Many martial artists in the Guangding headquarters were still willing to stay in this special department with a clear conscience. Even if they accidentally killed the livestock of the farmers, they would immediately think of compensation and call their fellow villagers to hold a barbecue. This was the change that Chen Guang had brought to them. They realized that martial artists were actually human. Chen Guang's cultivation in the secular world and accumulation were both admirable and enviable. Unknowingly, these inner force martial artists, who were originally high and mighty, would subconsciously imitate Chen Guang's lifestyle. So far, they seem to be doing quite well. They were even more ordinary than many of the privileged classes in this country that relied on money and power. Qin Guang himself did not feel this way. After all, he had only gone to the realm in the cup and became the strongest in history. No matter how profound his life experience in the realm of true martial was, no matter how strong his mentality as a powerhouse was, it had mostly dissipated after he successfully broke free from the Sage Emperor's mental state. Hey, I'm really going out now. Wu Miaoan blinked and looked at him. Why don't you take advantage of the time you have to do dual cultivation with me and teach me some skills? Qin Guang quickly sent her away. Go, go, go. Don't mess around. I'm busy. After sending Wu Miaoan away, Qin Guang put down the chair again. All kinds of thoughts popped up in his mind. It was a false alarm again. He had worried for nothing. Although this was a good thing, at least it proved that everything was fine. He could not relax. He rubbed his temples. This kind of anxiety that no one could talk about really made him feel physically and mentally exhausted. If he stretched his head out, he would be stabbed. He could not hide, but he did not know when the disaster would suddenly descend. This feeling was too unpleasant. He gripped the cup and thought to himself, this is really a torturous thing. Why don't you just give me a quick death and settle everything in one go? He took a deep breath and focused his eyes. His mind sank, and he entered the world in the cup once again. Many days had passed. Luli could not possibly still be clueless, could she? In the end, the moment Qin Guang entered, Luli, who was sitting in front of the computer and watching a television series with her legs crossed, suddenly threw a sentence at him. Don't ask me anything. I really don't know. Don't be like this. I'm so anxious that my hair is turning white. Lord Luli, please show me the way. Lioli stood up, flicked her shoulder-length hair that had grown back, and straightened out her bikini feather dress. Why didn't you give up? When have I ever lied to you? The world in the cup hasn't appeared for almost 2 months. Although the power of the Holy Grail outside can't be compared to the power of Mount Baylor during the Punishment Realm, it's obvious that this phenomenon is too abnormal. I'm on tenterhooks every day. Qin Guang tried his best to put on a very bitter expression. I see that you're living quite happily, aren't you? You're filming a movie, making money to do a variety show, and recently, I've even given you a windfall. You still have the cheek to say that you're on tenterhooks every day? Hearing those words, Qin Guang was shocked and asked, who leaked the news? How could a small matter like me, setting up a subsidiary company, reach the ears of God? Luli turned around and silently pointed at the monitor. She switched to the webpage. It was a bold and black title the size of a palm. Shocking. The king of internet influencers rises quickly, swallowing the 2 superstars on his left and right. Then she switched to another image. The strongest blockbuster in the history of the entertainment industry. After watching it, 1.3 billion Huaxia people are silent. Tingguang culture, the prehistoric behemoth that appeared out of nowhere. If you don't change, you're not a Huaxia person. Qin Guang, he had almost forgotten that Luli was quite trendy and kept up with the times. This kind of explosive news couldn't escape her eyes. Actually, you're not wrong. Your matter has indeed reached the ears of the 2 god emperors. In the endless heavenly realm, anyone below the god emperor level will be turned into ashes with just a few glances from Lu Ming and me. Isn't that especially good for you? Qin Guang nodded. It's quite an honor, but I'm still very concerned about what's happening outside. All right, just let Sister Luli go. Aren't you torturing the gods? Lu Ming, who had been watching the show from the side, finally couldn't help but interrupt. How about I tell you something else? Do you want to know where your money went? Qin Guang didn't know why Lu Ming was talking about such a senseless thing. Isn't my money in my pocket or in my bank card? No, I'm talking about the 170 million you earned by driving. Huh? Qin Guang was puzzled. Didn't Lu Li forbid him to ask? On the other side, Lu Li tried to interrupt Lu Ming, but Lu Ming said, Sister Lu Li, don't be so secretive. In a few days, even if you don't tell him, he'll find out. Didn't he make a fortune recently? It's just 170 million. It's nothing. Qin Guang was at a loss. He vaguely felt that something wasn't right. What are you guys talking about? Lu Ming's fruit shook even more violently. I'm saying Your money will be completely gone in a few days. But you don't care about this little bit of money, do you? What a scam. Chen Guang clutched his chest, rolled his eyes, and collapsed on his back. He didn't expect that before he could figure out the power of the Holy Grail, he would suddenly receive such a grievous news. It wasn't the first time that he had thought about 170 million. Even though he felt that the situation was getting worse and worse, he still held on to that 1 in a million hope. What if Luli was just pretending to be unreliable? And in fact, she really could use her divine emperor's mysterious divine sense of foresight to secretly invest in a big project for him. Maybe she was just joking with him. Just like 20 years ago, if you spent 100 million to buy Google stock, you would be worth more than 10 billion now. Maybe Luli did that. For example, in the past 6 months, the super popular share bicycles, such as the MO by Bike, were very good at cheating people of money. He was a person who had to bend down to pick up a 50-cent note that fell to the ground, but he had taken away 170 million yuan for Luli. This money was not as easy as financing. It was the money he had won after risking his life on the Hong Kong Mid-Mountain racetrack and defeating countless top experts around the world. It's gone just like that. Isn't this stabbing my heart? He lay motionless on the ground. After a long while, he shook his feet and stretched out his fingers to point at the sky. My money. Then he tilted his head and didn't want to move again. He looked as if he had died. Lu Li and Lu Ming stared at him blankly. Lu Li said, "Don't embarrass me. Money is just a worldly possession. You can earn it again if it's gone." Chen Guang raised his head and glared at Lu Li. "That's easy for you to say. You don't even know what this money means to me." Lu Ming was secretly disappointed. "Why didn't you melt it? You're melting like last time. What are you going to absorb?" On the other hand, Chen Guang suddenly stood up straight. His eyes full of fighting spirit, he stared at Lu Li. "Wait, you said there were still a few days left. Tell me what's going on. Can I still be saved?" You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.